Good morning, everybody, and welcome to The Weekender. Today I am joined by the masterful John.
Hello.
The mighty Benjamin on the screen.
Hello.
And myself, Justin. Welcome to the show. We have tons to talk about this week. First of all being that last weekend, there was no Weekender because of the 40k bootcamp.
Yep.
It was a great success, I'm going to say.
I think it was fantastic because it was great to see like more experienced players coming in and people that were newer to the hobby coming in at the same time and all enjoying it at the same time and together. That was my main thing I took away from it. Well,
see, the huge thing for me was just people sharing techniques, even if they'd brought like some extra little hobby components of their own to share with people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like I saw people learning to do green stuff. We had Thomas Menez in. He went absolutely crazy as always. He combined a fantasy and a sci-fi miniature, which normally that would leave my skin crawling. It would be like, no, stop. But it's Thomas Menez. He knows what he's doing, and it turned out pretty damn good.
In fact, the other thing I took away from the togetherness of the hobby weekend was my need to put chains on everything that I have in my Black Templar army. I bought 2 rolls of chain from the store, and every time I stopped doing chain, someone like Marty would lean over and go, "Got any more chains there you need to do?" And it's like, yes, I know, Marty, please, thank you.
All the chains, all the time,
all
with
chains,
John.
All the chains, all the time, modeling the Emperor's angry boys.
Yeah. Honestly, the vibe for the event was great as well because it was just super relaxed. Everybody was fit to just sit down, chill out, and hobby together, which I loved. It was actually really rewarding to actually see just how much progress you can make if you get a big group of folks together and you're all working on projects.
Do you know, it's funny that because I know a couple of people like Johnny in particular was like, I got nothing done because I'd start and then talk to someone for 5 minutes and then I'd go back to doing something and the paint was dry on my brush. It was like, well, welcome to community, I guess.
Learn to multitask, paint and talk. We do have our catch-up streams up and running now for anyone who wasn't able to actually catch up with us or join us for the event. The big difference was we did this one as a live stream and people love the fan cam.
Yeah, I noticed a few fantastic fan cam moments that I've seen pointing around. I think Alina put up a bunch and it was just like, this is hilarious and terrifying at the same time.
This is why we do not have audio on that camera.
Yeah, exactly. Certainly not suitable for work.
No. But that's something I always say to people whenever they come and join us for an event. That is Beasts of War, live and uncensored.
Yeah.
Be prepared, you know.
Very, very live and very uncensored.
Yes.
I also wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to those that joined us and did co-streams, everything like that over the weekend. They were really good. So we had Laughing Boy, Templar, and LSR. They all did their own little streams, which were absolutely fantastic. And there was basically something happening for the hobby 24 hours a day, effectively, because we had LSR in Australia doing some work down there and everything, which was pretty awesome, doing his Death Guard. But really, really good fun. Really nice tuning in to see what these guys are doing as well. Early in the morning and later at night when we turned off the cameras in the hobby suite, as it were. So very good stuff from all the community involved. It was really fun.
I actually just found my favorite conversion of the entire weekend.
All right.
This is my own personal favorite.
Okay.
This is James converted the Tow Rocks to take the tracks off.
Oh, yes.
And add some nice big chunky wheels. I think that looks so much nicer.
I'd seen this one coming together and I was like, that's a really nice conversion. It's a great piece.
He also did the up armor kit for the
Rhino.
I think it's a command Rhino.
Yeah.
Because it's got the big bit on the back there.
Yeah.
The satellite dish.
I did wonder where all those empty boxes or where those empty boxes of Forge World came from, and I think I've figured out now.
Well, I think it's a mix of Forge World and Cromlech is used on this. But it just looked really good because I think that dish is Cromlech, and I think the up armor kit is from Forge World.
Yeah, the up armor is Forge World, definitely.
But just beautiful work to see and great guys all around. Everybody was just super nice the entire weekend. Any standout ones of your own, John?
Well, there was all that conversion work for a start. That was all absolutely great. My best bit for it, though, was seeing the people coming in, putting their T-shirts on, getting really into the feel of it. And then seeing, I'm going to reference Marty and Thomas again, because Marty was wanting to do something. Then Thomas came over and was like, okay, so here's how you do it. Here's how you cut a piece of model. Here's how you do a bit of green stuff work. And I went over and asked Marty Lee, I was like, so how you find the conversion work? You know, being all happy about it and going, you know, how did you find it so far? And he was like, I am friggin' terrified. This is so stressful because if I get it wrong, I've lost the model. And I was like, that's not how conversion work is meant to go at all. You're meant to be smiling and laughing about it. He was sat there sweating buckets as Thomas was like, and then you just chop the arm here, and he's like, you do what?
But look how happy everybody was. There was Thomas working away. You know, we had the Caesar brothers in from River Horse.
Yes.
They were fun.
I had to pull them aside and go, Brown Defender, really?
All right, now just make sure and know your Caesar. So this is the one that works for River Horse normally.
Yes.
And the one on the front here is the one who does all the comics.
Yes.
So that's
Jack.
Chris.
You just said Chris.
No.
Is it Jack or Chris?
Chris is the one that does the comics.
Okay.
Jack is the one with the blue hair.
Ah, okay. That's easier to remember.
He did get a little bit of shtick for that blue hair the entire weekend.
Well, I mean, he was painting Tyranids with a lot of blue on them.
So so he kept it in theme.
It worked. And then they left their box behind.
Well, that was a moment of, we're fine. Our flight doesn't leave till like the afternoon. This is great. Our flight leaves at 5 a.m. Whoops.
Yeah, that's AM, not PM.
Yeah. But I love that. I want to do another one of these next year, just because it's so much fun.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we have other ones in the works.
It's us, of course.
We never stop planning.
Although, here was a story I heard. So, one of our local youngsters, right?
Yep.
His dog got into his box for his race night.
And
this is what happened. It used the leg as a chew toy.
That's just weathering.
Yeah, well, we had Thomas Menes on hand, and he was just like, no, this is fine. We can sort this for you. It's not a problem.
That's just battle damage, man.
Yeah, and then everybody doing the digital side of things as well. Yep. Big shout out to you guys, because it was something I had really hoped for whenever we were doing this event, was to see people really engage with the digital side of things.
Yeah,
to actually take part at home, because that's something I find people always miss. Is, okay, I can't make it. I wish I could have made it. And this is kind of like, well, you didn't make it, but you can still take part and enjoy yourself with us.
Yeah, you get to join in and you get to share stuff, you know, and that's you get a shout out and we get to look at your stuff too. So it's great.
Yeah, exactly. And we had the 2 Chainsword winners, who I'm sure are absolutely ecstatic.
They
were picked over the weekend.
They were picked over the weekend. So
they were. Hang on, if I scroll fast. Come on, Justin, scroll fast. Can't move fast enough. Damn it.
Yeah, I would put that up on the screen, but I think you would give everyone like an aneurysm or something.
No, I am not showing speed scrolling. Okay, here we go. Bearers of the Chainsword. Boop. So this was the digital winner.
Yep.
Dark Dagan. Okay. And then this was our winner at the event, who actually did some really nice conversion work. He actually took a fantasy model and the sci-fi model and mashed them together. Again, I cringe at that, but he made a really, really cool miniature. Mm-hmm. So well done to everybody who turned up to the event. Well done to everybody who took part online.
Shall we move along then?
Yes.
Briefly, just ease our way into
ease our way. No, John. This is going to be a smash cut right here, because we're going straight into the news, and it's something I'm so excited about, which is new Space Marines. I'm a happy bunny. So we are getting new Codex for the Space Marines.
Yep.
We are getting Codex Space Marines animated trailer.
Yeah, I haven't watched that.
No, I'm going to need to watch that. You're getting your chapter supplements, which I'm really happy about, because it means that you're not having to mine so much through the book. You're not seeing so much relevant stuff in that core codex.
Yeah. Well, the first 8th edition codex, we'll talk about it in more detail.
Yeah.
But it was essentially a bit of a catch-all. Because I feel like when 8th edition came out, they needed a catch-all codex straight away. Because obviously they had stuff like Shadow Spear planned and all that other stuff, because it's a 2-3 year development cycle. So they knew all this stuff was coming out. So this first codex was very much here's everything you have, plus some of the new Primaris stuff. Next time we're going to hit you harder with it. So
yeah, well, I mean, like, we got Ultramarines, we got White Scars, and we know there's more on their way.
Yep.
Tigarius got upgraded to Primaris.
He did.
As well as Coruscant Khan, I think it is.
Kasaro Khan.
Kasaro, yeah.
Who the miniature is quite badass, I have to say.
It's my favorite of the releases so far.
See,
I think it's really fantastic. Yeah.
I don't know. My favorite has to be the new Dreadnought, not Dreadnought.
It's a warsuit.
Yeah, so that's the Invicta tactical warsuit, and it's been designed kind of to be used as almost like a stealth walker, I guess you'd say, to go alongside some of the other stuff that is included in the Space Marine Army for like scouting force,
like this whole Vanguard thing they have going on with Shadow Spear. So.
You see, that feels like something that would be a bit easier to actually load into a drop pod, even though I know you can't load it into a drop pod.
Well, yeah.
The cool thing for me that I really liked about the model, because obviously it will polarize a lot of people because a lot of people like it, a lot of people don't. But I really liked the fact that they've got like a pistoled heavy bolter that the suit can sort of take off its side and start using as a sidearm, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
it kind of reminded me a little bit of the mech suits from the Matrix, in the later films.
Yeah. Although I have seen pictures of this, you can put that gun in the hand.
Yeah,
I am not putting that gun in the hand. That is on the hip.
To be fair, like I won't. When we seen this model at the 40K weekend, I went over to Thomas and was like, "What would you do with this?"
Oh yeah.
And question. He was like, "I would have it." I was like, there's going to be a lot of people modeling it, carrying it in the hand, and doing a shooty
pointing,
doing pointing and shooting, while the Marine inside is screaming for some reason. But he turned around and said, "No, I'd actually have it doing a Mexican standoff, with the hand hovering over the gun."
Yes.
And I was like, "Do you know what I need to do? I need to buy 2 of these."
You want to go
double heavy bolter, just for the hell of it. I think it would be great.
See, I love the design. I cannot wait to have a go with the kit.
Yeah.
And with these antennas and stuff on the back, I think, could it have some anti-deep striking rules on there? Because I know some of the Shadow Spear stuff did have like an increased bubble for you can't deep strike within 12 instead of 9.
Okay, yeah.
Which, if that's the case, that makes things deep striking so much more difficult.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter to me with my Black Templar army because they're mostly jump packs anyway. I will get you.
Yeah, pretty much. For me, it's just, this looks like another thing I can add to my fire base because my army is just all about the shooting and this thing has so many guns.
I will go on record to say that since the Primaris have started coming out, there's a few people saying, oh, now Marines are becoming a bit more cookie cutter, a bit more, this is basically what you should take all the time sort of thing. But I'm seeing that lore-wise, becoming model-wise, Belisarius's work in the background over 10,000 years has developed so much technology. And when it's coming out, when you see these new model releases being previewed and stuff, it feels like a modern Imperium weapon system. It doesn't feel like an archaic, like the bolt gun is archaic, but when you see the bolt rifle, it feels more like a brand new piece of kit.
Yeah, it's something to discuss. I think it was in Dark Imperium that the unnumbered suns, the way they're actually laid out, is to be more mono role on the battlefield.
Yeah.
So less multi-purpose units, which I'm quite fine with.
I'm happy with it too, although intercessors are pretty flexible.
Yeah.
You get short range, high shot count.
Yeah.
You get your standard good range, fairly effective, but then you get the
heavy ones.
The heavy ones. It's the sniper.
Yeah,
I like that too.
I say is perfect for Imperial Fist players. The increase in AP, and then you have no cover. Yeah. It's just like, blah, good night, sweetheart. Moving on, we've got the new transport, which is an interesting one.
Yeah, so this one's called the Impulsor, and it's a sort of evolution, I guess you'd say, of what used to be the old Rhino for the normal Space Marines, the older Space Marines that you'd see out there on 40K.
Yep.
This one's been sort of done up to be more Primaris-y, I suppose you'd say, and it continues the same sort of like grav tech technology stuff that they've used for some of their other stuff in the past as well for the Primaris. But yeah, it's good to see the Primaris get themselves almost like a dedicated transport option, which is pretty cool.
It's something they've been crying out for since it came out.
Yeah, well, I mean, like now that we're seeing more missions where it's all about getting on those objectives, holding those objectives, actually having ways to get there is always going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, further down, we know these guys.
These are the Vanguard stuff that was more or less brought out with Shadow Spear.
Yeah. I'm loving some of the designs.
Yeah, it's the Infiltrators and the Eliminators. So you've got the Infiltrators there who are the sort of sort of guys. I think they're in their Phobos armor, isn't it? That's the kind of armor pattern they use for this. And then you've got the Eliminators there as well, who are effectively the new snipers that you're going to be using for your Primaris force. And then that's all getting capped off with the addition of a new Primaris Lieutenant, or Lieutenant, that's how you should say it, in Phobos armor, which is pretty awesome as well. So some really cool stuff for that kind of stealthy Vanguard aspect that you were talking about a little bit earlier, John.
Right. Now, Ben, we didn't tell you this before we started filming, but...
What?
I'm going to make you quickly rewrite the running order here. So we've had a look at the miniatures. We've chatted about them a bit.
Yeah.
As of this second, we know nothing rules-wise. We've actually got the codexes here in the studio, Ben. So I think myself and John are going to run off for a little minute to have a look at those and drool over them while you're still stuck in England. So
fair enough.
Sorry, Ben. We'll be back in a sec.
So we've kicked Ben off
for a moment.
Yeah, just for a while because
no interruptions.
No,
this is our time with the Space Marine Codex.
Codexes. Codex and garnish.
Is it codici or codices?
Codices.
Codices. I think sounds right.
I think it's codices.
All right. Now,
although it's really a codex with garnish.
It is those supplements. Now, I have done one thing just to make sure I don't screw up too badly if I say comparisons, because John can call me on it. Yeah, because I will get something wrong. I can guarantee it. I've grabbed in my copy of the Space Marine Codex previous edition,
which is about to be replaced by what we have in front of us.
Exactly. So, where do you want to start with this, John?
I want to start with some of the speculation that's circling around the whole supplements idea.
Okay, so supplements, we have the Ultramarines one first.
Yes.
So let me see if I can lay my hands on it. So if you take this,
okay,
and take this, and we have this. So Ultramarines supplement.
Yeah.
Now, I have had a quick flick through this, and what it seems to be is a nice in-depth look into the background of your chosen chapter. So you've got all the different companies. There's the fourth company for Uriel Ventress, if I got that right.
I think it is Ventress's company, yeah.
If I remember right from If the Emperor Had Text-to-Speech, because he does turn up in it. And it's
he has green shoulders, yeah.
We've got successor chapters, which is always great to have, because how many times do you see people who want to paint their own way for Space Marines?
Yeah.
And sort of theme them.
And now you're getting a few more options. It's also nice to note they've redone the artwork for the successors and stuff like that. They've upped the quality of the actual, that front on sort of look.
We've got the Age of Darkness. So we've got some talk about what looks to be heresy. I love the artwork here.
Yeah.
Chain Fist on the Terminator just looks badass. We've got the Tyrannic Wars, Rise of the Primarch. And this is one of my favorite things. So this is tiny little cliff notes of what the Ultramarines got up to through the ages.
Yep.
I always love reading this. Moving on, we've got the different unit entries that we'll have seen before.
Yep.
So these are basically straight lifts out of the Space Marine Codex, although the Chief Librarian, they have redone his artwork with him as Primaris, which is nice. Sicarius didn't get upgraded.
No, Sicarius doesn't deserve it.
No. Tyrannic War Veterans are in here, which is very nice.
Yep.
Sergeant Cronus is in here. And then we've got some beautiful shots of miniatures. Now, I always like looking at these, and I know you do as well, John.
Absolutely.
Just in case, because if you look, you've got the new Dreadnought-ish thing hiding in the background here.
War suit or something.
Yeah. And then you've just got the nice layout. I love the look of this guy. Can you get that chapter ancient, I wonder?
Well, he's not he's not a new model.
I know.
He's an old guy.
I know, but I remember whenever Workshop did like Order on Demand, which I really should have picked him up whenever they were doing that. We've got some of our newer stuff that we've seen. And okay, I'm just going to lift this up for a second, just so I can get to the meat.
Yeah. So what we're looking at with the supplements is kind of taking the stuff that was in the previous edition of the Codex, like Cronus and some of the characters, and just saying, right, it's time to just let them have their own space to breathe, and let the chapter have its own space to breathe within a book of its own.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the Space Marine Codex, you can run Ultramarines out of that quite happily, or you can run any force out of that quite happily. But what this is doing is adding that garnish.
Yes.
It's that little extra. It's that something that makes the Ultramarines in particular, a chapter that stands on their own.
Yeah,
they're not just the vanilla force.
No, you do need both books.
You do
if you're going to do this, because there's a very short unit entry list here.
Yeah.
So I'll quickly run it down. So you've got Captain Sicarius, Captain Cassius, Chapter Ancient, Chapter Champion, Chief Librarian Tigurius, Honor Guard, Marnius Calgar, Rabuti Gulliman, Sergeant Cronus, Sergeant Talion, Tyrannic War Veterans, and the Vitrix Honor Guard.
Yep. So that'll be
these
stuff.
Are the entries in here.
Yeah, that will be stuff that will have obviously entries specific to the Ultramarines in some form. Now, some of those sound a bit more generic, but I would imagine that because they're Ultramarines, they have something a little different to them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be included in the supplement.
Yeah. Now, we've got, so the new one for this one is the Chief Librarian. So he's coming with a bolt pistol, his rod, crag, and frag grenades. He's got the Hood of Hellfire. When a psychic test is taken for this model, you can re-roll the result. When a psychic test or deny the witch test is taken for this model, add 1 to the total.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice because it's letting you pretty much get those psychic powers off easier.
Yeah.
Because that's something some people have issues with. Sometimes you'll roll your psychic test and it's just garbage. You miss it by 1.
Yeah.
He's got Master of Prescience. At the start of the battle round, you can select 1 friendly Ultramarines unit within 6 of this model until the end of that battle round. When resolving an attack against that unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. Yeah. So he's like shrouding guys nearby him, which is pretty nice. Psychery can manifest 2 psychic powers and attempt to deny to deny the witches. And he's got 3 psychic powers from the Librarius Disciplines C Codex Space Marines, or 3 powers from the Indomitus Discipline. That's new.
Yeah.
So let's quickly flick along here because there was one other thing in here that I saw that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
So is Tyrannic War Veterans.
So something that we're going to get to when we look at the main Space Marine Codex is that there's now that the first 8th edition Space Marine Codex is done with. It was the one that introduced us to Primaris, and all of them were from the Unnumbered Suns. They were all. It's weird to say it. First generation Primaris.
It makes sense though.
Yeah, they're the first of the lot. Yeah. Now they talk in the Space Marine Codex, the new one, about them that first batch becoming the veteran Primaris now. Yeah. So there is veterancy starting to build within that Primaris force as well.
Yeah, it's nice to see that story rolling forward.
It is, yeah, and it embeds them a bit more firmly in all the chapters that are obviously going to be covered by the supplement books.
Now, one thing I like is the Tyrannic War Veterans. The miniatures for these, they're a little older, but they're still pretty good looking. These are standard Marines.
You can kit bash from the likes of Stern Guard and Vanguard veterans. You can add Tyrannic stuff to very easily. So you can make veterans the way you want them to be. Yeah. And maybe have 1 or 2 of the older ones in just for a bit of added flavor.
Well, if your mate runs Tyranids, these guys are going to be great for you. Yeah. Okay? Because they've got Bane of Tyranids. When resolving an attack by a model in this unit against the Tyranids unit, you can re-roll the hit roll and the wound roll for these guys. Yeah. So you don't even need to be close to a commander to get that now.
Yeah.
So nice.
These veterans on their own, they are so versed in what they did.
Yep, and they get the special issue bolt gun, so range 30, rapid fire 1, strength 4, minus 2 AP and 1 damage.
Yeah.
Right, now, flipping along just to some of the other stuff. So, Psychons of Gulliman, right? This is something
Scions?
Scions, okay. Okay. All right, the Ultramarines and their successor chapters are strict adherents to the teachings of the Codex Astartes. As such, typically they adopt a flexible combat style that emphasizes maneuverability without sacrificing firepower, right? So I'm not sure. I can't remember if this was in the old one. But whilst this tactical doctrine is active, models with this ability that moved in your movement phase but did not advance or fall back can make attacks with ranged weapons in the following shooting phase as if the unit remains stationary.
Right.
Heavy weapons are no longer an issue. So the heavy Hellblasters, they are getting a look in now.
As Ultramarines, they become suddenly very effective.
Yeah, that they can. Well, they've got that flexibility to move and keep that firepower on there. You know, especially with that extra strength, extra AP. A little more expensive, but worth it.
So are we going to say in the Ultramarines case, because Gilliman wrote the Codex Astartes, does the Codex Astartes approve this action?
Well, of course, Gulliman approves this action, therefore the Codex Astartes must approve this action. It does not approve John, though.
No, it doesn't really approve me at all.
Yeah, they've got their own set of 6 warlord traits now, which is quite nice. So you've still got the old Adept of the Codex, which was their one.
Yep.
But you've got 5 additional ones. So give me a number between 2 and 6, John.
4.
4. Okay, so number 4 is Paragon of War. When resolving an attack made by this warlord, an unmodified wound roll of a 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to any other damage. So he's just twisting the knife.
Yeah. He's got it in there already, and he's going to do a little twist.
Yeah. We've got the Relics of Macragge, so they've got their own relics now as well.
Yep.
Special issue war gear as well. Their own stratagem setup, I believe. And the Indomitus Discipline. Okay, 6 psychic powers for the Indomitus guys, right? Okay. 1 through 6. Give me a number.
I'll go with 5.
With 5. Okay. This is Psychic Shackles. So the librarian plunges his foe into his foe's minds, trampling their souls, crushing their will to fight, and stalling their advance in its tracks.
And throwing their teddies out of the pram.
What this actually does is it cuts the target unit's movement in half.
Right.
And removes 1 from any advance or charge rolls that they make. So you could really slow something down if it's just a big melee unit that's charging at you. No. Hold, please.
You can make stuff like some of the big chaos beasties just that take that little bit longer to get to.
Or the gaunts. Or the waves of gaunts.
Or gaunts,
Imagine something like the harpies having half their movement cut. In fact, I'm going to read the exact words of this, just so I don't screw up.
Right.
So it has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select 1 enemy unit within 18 inches and visible to the psyker until the start of your next psychic phase, half the movement characteristic rounding up of models in that unit. And when a charge roll or advance roll is made for that unit, subtract 1 from that roll. A unit cannot be affected by both this psychic power and Tenebrau's Curse, I believe it's called.
Whatever that is.
Yep, I don't know that one. They've also got some tactical objectives and stuff, so there's quite a bit in here. There's even an Ultramarines name generator.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
Is it all Greek names?
Okay, so it's 11 through 66. Give me a number.
11 through 66. 35?
Okay, so for 35, Abraxas, and once again?
15.
Abraxas Sicarius.
Oh, no. Hi, Abraxas Sicarius.
I am the cousin of Scato Sicarius.
I am Cato's cousin. and about 10 times as handsome. Okay.
That's family gatherings, they all give me gifts.
Okay, that went off kilter a little bit.
If you have not watched If the Emperor Had Text-to-Speech, go enjoy.
Do not interrupt the feedback session of Cato Sicarius. Right, so on to the White Scars.
Yes.
White Scars are interesting because I don't believe they ever even got their own codex.
No, they did not.
However, I know you flicked a few pages.
I did.
And you went a little,
I am disappointed. So the book is just as thick as the Ultramarines one.
I think the main question that a lot of our 40k fans out there are going to be asking is, do they still go fast?
They still go fast. They like to go fast. They enjoy going fast.
So they continue to go fast.
Yes.
All right then.
Okay.
So no matter how disappointed you are now, we already know that they still like going fast.
Yes. Now, in this, you've got some gorgeous, gorgeous new artwork.
Yep.
So we see a White Scar here on his bike with his saber cutting the head off a Gene Stealer.
Because why not?
Because that's how they roll.
Because that's going fast.
Yes, that's going fast. And we move on through to get just all of their history, their different companies, a bit of what they're meant to do. And then we move forward to where I am disappointed. So all the history, this is all great, this is all wonderful, fantastic, beautiful.
This is what the White Scars needed.
Yep. And what happened to them whenever the Maelstrom happened,
yep,
which is great. The little cliff notes, which again is great.
Mm-hmm.
We've then got the unit entries.
Yep.
And we get a grand total, if I can get to it, passing all this, of 2.
So what have we got? And we've got Crosoro can and a can.
And a can on a bike.
And a can on a bike.
Can on a bike.
Right.
Probably Pines Baked Beans.
It's terrible.
But this is what makes me sad. We got so much flavor, so much character with the Ultramarines.
Mm-hmm.
To see the White Scars get 2 entries,
but
makes me a little sad.
Are those entries important? Because we already know that a lot of stuff that the White Scars use is going to be in the standard codex anyway. So is there anything in there that makes this army like have its own flavor on top of just having these 2 entries?
Well, they've got for the can, add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by models in friendly White Scars units that have made a charge, moved, or performed a heroic intervention this turn whilst they're within 6 of Corso Can.
So they're primed to be more aggressive.
Yeah, these guys are really going to be designed to just be all about getting up in your opponent's face. Yeah. It does theme the army so that you're really going to push the boundaries and just be aggressive.
And what's strange, reading that alone, that is playing more into the people that have...
They want melee.
That have first-generation Space Marine armies.
Oh, yeah. So if you've got first-generation with bikes...
Bikes and anything melee and jump packy.
Yeah. I mean, like, even... like, if you took the Centurion Devastators, the Assault variant...
Yeah.
Those guys on the charge all of a sudden are a little bit more vicious.
But they only have a move of 4.
The Assault variant...
Yeah, I think all Centurions have a move of 4.
Ooh, okay.
I think they're just big
check that.
Chunky things, yeah.
Well, I mean, like, again, with the different missions and stuff you have now, the different tactical objectives, you could just set them as a bulwark and anything gets too close. Whee!
Yeah, punch them out of the way.
Yeah. The can on the bike, he's got a buckler, so he's a little bit tougher. He's got turbo boost, but there's nothing super flavorful there. I mean, like, can spear... strength user -3 IP D3 damage when resolving an attack made with this weapon in a turn which the bearer made a charge move or performed a heroic intervention. Strength characteristic goes to ×2. That's still only strength 8.
Strength 8 is still not bad though.
Yeah. For the flavor of them, for their doctrine, they've got devastating charge. Whilst the assault doctrine is active when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model with this ability in a unit that made a charge move or heroic intervention, add 1 to the damage characteristic. That's not bad.
No,
increased damage characteristic is always good, and it does add up.
Yeah, it does, especially if you're very happy to run stuff that is very melee happy anyway. If you're running a load of lightning claws and chain swords and power swords,
Thunderhammers could be good now.
Thunderhammers could be quite important in some squads, smatter through them a bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I'm just thinking this might be a way to bring back the old Thunderhammer Terminators.
What's wrong with Thunderhammer Terminators?
I don't know, just with the other stuff that's there. They're not bad, but I mean, like, I would definitely take other stuff first.
I mean, they very are. Like a 5-man squad of Terminators with Thunderhammers and Storm Shields is still very much a sledgehammer.
Oh, it's still a sledgehammer, but I mean, like, for me, this edition has become the shooting man's edition. I will set up a firebase and just rain death down on you.
Yeah, and the Primaris releases up until, well, basically up until, in fact, including what we know is already coming, is still very much that approach.
I mean, like, you could get your aggressors in there for some shooting or for some melee if you want.
Too slow. Yeah. Too slow, and they would be better off with just their big boulders.
Yep, or just standing there burning stuff down.
Pretty much. What I would say is that still the Primaris feel like a more modern fighting force anyway.
Yeah. What I would have loved to have seen in this book was a Primaris bike variant just for these guys that they've maybe homebrewed themselves.
I could understand why you'd want that, but I could also understand what the model design department are trying to get is that models are not exclusive to anybody. Everybody can have the same models. It used to be that way with the Land Raider Crusader. It was a Black Templar only thing.
Yeah, I remember.
And when it became the Crusader Redeemer kit and it suddenly made its way into the mainline codex, everyone went, what about my Black Templars? Yeah. What they forgot was the Black Templars had also been rolled into that codex, and it was like, it doesn't matter now. Yeah. You can still have that. Yeah, but now everybody has that.
What I find kind of strange is breaking out into these books, everybody is going to get a little bit of their own stuff, but I can see why they're keeping it to like HQs and things. Yeah. But even just something in this that makes it easier for them to take, like tons of bikes, would be cool. All right, let's move on to Warlord traits.
Sure,
so 1 through 6.
Pick one. 3.
3. Okay, so this is Trophy Taker. When this warlord destroys an enemy character model, add 1 to their attack characteristic till the end of the battle.
Well, that's okay.
Whenever you think, let's see, what's the attack characteristic on these guys to start with? So starts with 5, starts with 4. That's not bad.
Yeah.
It's pushing you to really go character hunting, which I quite like. Do they get psychic powers? They do not. They get their own relics. They get their own special issue war gear. Anything else? They get their own stratagems. All right, let's just go for the first one. Born in the Saddle.
Yep.
Use this stratagem when a White Scars biker unit from your army advances. They can still shoot this turn.
See, that's not bad.
That's pretty good. See, I think the stratagems are where you're going to get a lot of flavor for these supplements.
Yeah, because the stratagem, because I don't use stratagems, I know I'm silly. It's army wide, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Basically,
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a unit specific or
yeah. Well, it's got the keywords on it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So I've got Storm Speaking Discipline. Oh, actually, so this might be their own psychic one. Yeah, White Scars Librarians are known as Storm Masters. So 1 through 6, give me one.
Let's go with 6 this time.
Okay, for number 6, we've got Eye of the Storm. Summoning a hurricane, the Storm Seer becomes the heart of a screaming cyclone. Whenever he strides, the enemy are plucked from their feet and dashed to ruin by its elemental fury. I like the description. Let's see if it actually follows through on the rule.
Go on then.
So, warp charge value of 6.
Mm-hmm.
Roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 12 of this cycle, adding 1 to the result if that unit can fly. On a 4+, that unit suffers a mortal wound. That's not awful.
It's not awful. It makes you go, I don't want to get too close to that guy just in case he pops it.
Yeah, pop him on a bike. Just have him blitz through the middle and cast that during the psychic phase.
Can librarians have bikes?
I'm pretty sure you can probably put one on a bike somehow, some way.
I'm not sure you can.
Have a look in the main codex.
We will come to that right now then, shall we?
Yeah, so that is the 2 supplements. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with each of them. I wonder if Space Wolves are going to get a supplement instead of a standalone codex. I would say yes.
Right, here's my bit of speculation before we break into the main book. Okay? A lot of people... I'm calling out Chapter Master Valeric again. Because I've done that a couple of times and he's giggled at me calling him out. So I'm calling you out. I know that he gets very excited and he goes, oh, there could be so many chapters put into these books. And he goes really at it and you get fully energized and you jump in with him. And now that we have this in front of us and I've opened the book and had a look through, just that what the codex isn't telling you is far more telling than what the codex tells you.
Okay, that's interesting.
Because the first 2 books, obviously, Ultramarines and White Scars.
Yeah.
Ultramarines have always been the main codex.
Yeah, they're always the front runners. They're the boys in blue. They're out there fighting a good fight.
White Scars is a curveball out of the left.
I would say yeah.
Because it's not something we've seen before, perhaps way back in early editions or even way back even before that.
Yeah, although I love this artwork on the front cover.
Oh, it's great.
Mongols in space. Love it.
It's great. But my speculation is which books are coming and which books aren't coming.
Okay.
Because what we've seen right now is 2 first founding chapters.
Yep.
We've seen 2 legions essentially getting their own books. So I'm speculating
fists
that I'm not necessarily.
Really?
No, not necessarily. What I'm expecting is something that Valeric had sort of hinted on at one point in one of his speculation grants, where it was not necessarily Imperial Fist's book, but a Sons of Dorn book.
That could make sense because there were a lot of characters and stuff.
There's a lot of characters, and it would potentially make sense for them to make a supplement that covers essentially just the characters of the Sons of Dorn. However, the way I'm looking at it now is you're going to see these supplements covering primarily legions, former legions.
I would agree with that, and I don't think you'll see Sons of Dorn. I think you will see Imperial Fists, and it'll just be the successor chapter characters are in there,
possibly. Or what they'll potentially do is look at their standout chapters that they've had over the previous editions.
Yeah.
What chapters, what legions have people really wanted?
Well, Salamanders, Fists.
I speculate now.
I can go for 5 instantly.
I potentially think we're going to see Dark Angels because they'll need a new codex anyway to bring them up to with this. So they'll probably become a supplement instead of their own book.
Yep.
Wolves will probably become a supplement instead of their own book.
Yeah.
Because they'll have tons of fancy unit entries they can chuck in there.
Oh, yeah.
So Dark Angels, Wolves, Fists probably.
Yeah. Blood Angels definitely.
Possibly Death Watch.
I'm thinking Salamanders.
I think Salamanders are coming.
Yeah.
Death Watch maybe is going to stay its own thing.
Yeah.
Probably will because it's so tied to Inquisition. My worry is that are they going to go Sons of Dorn or Fist? They might go Imperial
Fist. I think they'll
Fist.
do Fists.
I think they might go Imperial Fist and a Black Templar book.
Maybe.
Because the Templars are really...
They are quite different.
They're really waiting for something to come their way since
I'd say
the
what's
last
telling
Codex.
is what chapters have their own like specific vehicles and specific characters, or what's going to inform on this.
I don't think so, because none of these have their own specific vehicles. They have characters, but they don't have vehicles.
Characters, but I think what would probably bring in the Black Templar one is because they have their own characters and there's also some vehicles entries in there, which I haven't seen in that main book.
They're in there.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
So the Corvus Flyer's in there?
No, the Corvus isn't a Black Templar thing.
Well, let me call it up.
It's not. It's an Inquisition. It's a Death Watch thing.
Oh, Death Watch? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm talking about Templars here.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I always get the two mixed up.
Oh, this book contains every Space Marine entry that is currently available.
Okay.
Including the Crusaders and all the
Yeah, but you don't have the Space Wolf Flyer in there. Give it here.
That's very telling.
Give it here.
Maybe it is going to stay its own codex.
Well, you see, that's why I think it would get its own supplement, because it's a specific thing. All right.
True.
So let's see the cover on this. Beautiful new artwork.
I do love the fact that the guy getting a shot to the shoulder just really doesn't care that his shoulder's on fire.
Yeah. All right. Now in here we're going to get what we expect. This is all the old stuff. This is everything you need to know about some of the chapters, some of their layouts. This is different.
No, you do get this in the previous edition too.
Aye, but the one they have in the supplement is different to this one.
Yeah.
Which is nice. And then if we'll jump ahead, because this is all background.
See what I'm saying here is that the legions that are being shown with a lot of successors, I'm pretty sure are going to become supplements.
Well, look at that artwork. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then
where you're into sort of unit stuff.
Yeah, and some of the different builds you can do for armies. All right, let me pull this out here, because holding that across the table is hurting my arm, because this is quite the hefty book.
It is, yeah.
And we jump straight into the unit entries. Now, one of the interesting things is I haven't really seen any of the units in here get a heavy nerf.
No, not from what we've
Nothing
looked
has
at.
jumped out to me. If there is something, feel free to post it below. But from what I've looked at, not seen anything.
I feel like this Codex edition is really just to bring everything up to, to include the new releases since the 8th Codex came out.
Now this is nice.
Okay.
So there was a beta rule that came out for bolters.
Yes.
Which is now in here. Which
right,
makes
so
me
it's
very
official now. It's not a beta rule.
Bolter discipline, yep.
Yep.
So instead of following the normal rules for rapid fire rounds, models in this unit firing rapid fire bolt weapons make double the number of attacks if any of the following apply. The firing model's target is within half the weapon's maximum range. Makes sense.
So within rapid fire range.
Firing model is infantry, and every model in the unit remains stationary in the movement phase. If the firing model is a Terminator, Biker, Centurion, or Dreadnought. So that is now official.
Yeah.
So that makes me happy, because it just makes my Centurion so much more horrible.
It also makes the assault bolters worse.
Assault bolters a little bit,
because they're not rapid fire. They're not getting a gain from that rule.
Wait, see, I don't know, because you'll use it in a different tactical situation, because it's if you're advancing, you can still fire with a -1.
Yeah,
which is what the assault rule is, if I remember correctly. I'm going to say that a lot in this.
If I remember correctly, it might be that.
Yeah. You've also got some tactical doctrines in here. So Devastator, Tactical Doctrine, and Assault Doctrine, which is nice. We've got all of our unit entries. There's one I want to flip to, because it's one I use quite a lot.
I was going to say was it the Impulsor, but no, it's clearly the Centurions.
No, it's not the Centurions.
No?
It's the Primaris Ancient.
Oh, okay.
So the Astartes banner is one of the most useful things for the list I run, because whenever something dies, you roll a d6, and on a 4+, you get to either shoot or fight with a melee weapon. Well, shoot with a shooting weapon, fight with a melee weapon, of course.
You could fight with a melee a shooting weapon too.
It wouldn't be effective.
Just shove the bolter in the face.
It's worded slightly differently here, but it does the same thing.
Okay.
So I'm quite okay with that. Anything else you're really after, John?
I'm pretty content that I know that Codex is going to be essentially the previous version, but brought including all the new stuff.
Yeah, well, let's talk about some of the new stuff then. So, what was the first one that came up here? Tigris we looked at.
Tigurius.
Well, we looked at the can.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is the new Dreadnought.
Not Dreadnought. The new not Dreadnought.
Yeah, what exactly is it called? Invictor Tactical Warsuit.
That's it. I was just reading it off the big screen. Just as you said it.
Okay, so move 10, weapon skill, ballistic skill 3, so that's pretty good. 13 wounds is great.
Mm-hmm.
Weapons loadout, it's got a lot.
It does.
So, Frag Storm Grenade Launcher, which is nice. Heavy Bolter, which is nice. Incendium Cannon, that's something new.
Yep.
12-inch range, heavy 2d6, strength 5, -1, 1 damage. When resolving an attack made with this weapon, do not make a hit roll. It automatically scores a hit.
It's a flame cannon, pretty much.
Me likey. Iron Heel Heavy Stubber.
2 of them.
Twin Iron Heel Autocannon. And I like these because they don't have the flyer rules on them.
Yeah. So
you will be doing it on the 3s. And an Invictor Fist, which is strength times 2. So that's strength 14.
Yep.
-3 and 3 damage. This is nice. It explodes. It's got concealed position. When you set up this model during deployment, it can be set up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from an enemy deployment zone.
Which I have to admit, even
I like.
It's the size of a friggin' Dreadnought. It's the size of a Redemptor, right? How the
curse if you want.
How the in curse words name are you hiding this thing, especially if you're playing Ultramarines or White Scars, because it's either going to be painted really vivid blue or absolute bone white.
Well, you've got the falsehoods.
Did you see a falsehood on that?
I do not see a falsehood on
No.
this.
So what I'm going to have to do is, if I ever run one of these with my Black Templar, and God alone knows why I would, because Black Templar are not sneaky, it would have to be covered in camouflage nets.
I don't imagine any Space Marine force really being sneaky unless it's someone like
Raven Guard.
Raven Guard or, what was the Chaos one? Night Lords.
Night Lords or Raven Guard. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've picked one loyalist faction that would like these.
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, like, I kind of like the idea that they're a little bit lighter, they're a little bit faster because it's not a crippled Space Marine piloting it. He's maybe a little bit sharper.
He's maybe, well, obviously he's running a lighter vehicle because it's not carrying all the sustaining stuff that keeps a mostly dead Marine alive.
Okay, so your options on this is it's either 1 Iron Heel autocannon or 1 Incendium cannon. I'm probably going with the Iron Heel.
Really?
Yeah.
I would go with the Incendium.
Well,
I honestly would. I would prefer to have the auto hit.
Strength 7 though.
I don't care. It's auto hit.
I guess.
Again, if you're looking at facing down horde armies,
48-inch range though.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. The last rule it has, which I find very interesting. So the heavy bolter it's carrying, you can see it's strapped to its hip.
Yes. That
is a sidearm, so it's a heavy sidearm rule. Whilst this model is within one of any enemy units, its heavy bolter has a type characteristic of pistol 3.
Yep. It's a heavy bolt pistol. It becomes a heavy bolt pistol.
Well, a heavy bolter pistol.
Well, it's a heavy bolt pistol.
Yeah, but I like the idea that this thing can just grab that out of the holster and just go, I'm in melee. Good night.
Well, why wouldn't you? You're in an open-fronted machine.
Yeah.
If you're facing down like orcs and stuff, and they're like, I want to get at that Umi in there.
Yeah.
And he's like, but I've got a really big gun. They'll appreciate this.
Yeah. Do you see my DACA?
It's a vehicle. I find a lot of the Primaris stuff an orc would look at and shed a slight tear of respect for.
I don't know. I'm waiting to see someone do a looted version of this because you know what's going to happen.
You could
steel girders and stuff instead of that nice roll cage.
How nice would that look as a Death Dread?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That would be so pretty.
Yeah. Thomas Bennett. Thomas, we're calling you.
Right.
Speaking to Thomas.
Right. Let's talk about the other, not elephant in the room, but the other anticipated vehicle.
Yeah.
With the Impulsor.
Yeah. So it was this.
Yeah.
And this picture does not do it justice.
It doesn't do it justice because you don't get to see the back of it.
Exactly. It's open back.
It's open backed. The little rails that you see up here are actually rails on the back of the vehicle in the open area. However, surprisingly, it is not an open top vehicle.
Yep.
And we're about to explain why, because it's so cute. It has a paladin bubble.
I'm looking.
Come on.
It's a new codex.
Faster.
Land Raider Crusaders, Rhinos, Repulsor Executioner, Razorback, Repulsor Drop Pod, Land Speeder Storm, Impulsor. Here we go. Got
it. Go for it.
Right. So this thing. So here's an interesting one. Its weapon skill is always going to be a 6+. Mm-hmm. So this thing you do not want to get anywhere near melee.
No.
It hits on 3s for shooting. Move 14, so it's really fast. 11 wounds, which is not bad. Toughness 7. I'm quite okay with that. Weapon systems now. Bellicatus missile array. Mm-hmm. So it can fire 3 types of missile.
Yep.
Crack, frag, or Icarus. Mm-hmm. So Icarus, obviously, that's for flyers.
Yep.
Whoa. It only fires 1 of these, but the crack missile, strength 8 -2 d6 damage is nice.
Yeah.
It's got Fragstorm Grenade Launcher, we know what that does. Mm-hmm. Iron Heel Heavy Stubber, we know what that does. Iron Heel Sky Talon Array, and a Storm Bolter. Now, it's a hover tank.
Yep.
So distances are always measured to and from the model's hull. Mm-hmm. It's got a repulsor field. If any units with this ability are chosen as targets of a charge, subtract 2 from the charge roll. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. It makes it harder to get into combat with this.
If it finds itself in a bad spot, it isn't out of options.
Yeah, or if you've ran up and your opponent's, you're maybe playing it a bit close to the wire to drop your troops off. Mm-hmm. You've got a little bit of a buffer zone there.
Yeah.
It's got assault vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm hoping this lets stuff charge out of it.
I'm not so sure on this.
After this model moves in your movement phase, if this model did not advance, any units embarked aboard it can disembark. Units that do so cannot be chosen to charge with that turn. Yeah.
So what is it? Yeah. So you
can't charge out of it. You can disembark, but not charge.
You can disembark, but you can't charge. But you can probably still move and shoot.
Yeah, you disembark. Yeah.
But what that does is give you a 14-inch move plus your infantry's move.
Well, your disembark, I think, counts as your move.
Does it count as your move?
I think it does.
Okay, fair enough.
We'll need to double check that in the BRB.
Yeah, you disembark and then you can still where you need to be. You're still 14 inches away from where you were potentially.
Yeah. Shield Dome. A model with a Shield Dome has a 4-up invuln save.
It's got a bubble.
I will take that all day.
It has a paladin bubble.
Yep. It's got orbital comms array. In your shooting phase, 1 model from your army with an orbital comms array that has not been used this battle can use it to call down an orbital barrage. If it does, select 1 point on the battlefield and roll a d6 for each unit within d6 of that point, subtracting 1 from the result if the unit being rolled for is a character. On a 4+, the unit being rolled for suffers d3 mortal wounds. That's not bad.
It's not bad.
Against horde armies, that's going to do some damage.
But here comes my complaint.
Mm-hmm.
Because...
Well, it explodes?
No, I don't care about that. Everyone knows it explodes. My complaint is about the Primaris vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
When the Repulsor came out, I laughed my jolly little head off because it was a tank that had more guns than hull.
Yeah.
When the Executioner came out, I was like, it's a tank with more guns than hull and can still transport stuff but kill big things.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you trying to do? Is this a transport now or is it a battle tank? It's trying to be 2 things here.
Yeah.
Same with the initial Repulsor. It's trying to be 2 things.
Yeah.
Then the Redemptor Dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
The Redemptor Dreadnoughts,
I like them.
As far as I'm concerned, are the only vehicles in the Primaris range so far that deserve to have as many guns as they have.
Mm.
The Impulsor is trying to be too many things at once. It's trying to be a fire support vehicle.
Aye.
It's trying to be a rapid mobility transport.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to shield people in an open-topped vehicle that isn't open-topped because reasons. And it's not really effective at very much.
It is pretty, though. Now, hang on. Let me take and do one test here.
All right, go for it.
Because there is one test, which we haven't done for anything we've talked about.
Okay.
Points.
Okay, yeah.
So
it better be decently low.
Okay, so this is the Impulsor, yeah? 75 points.
All right.
That I can live with.
Now, 75 points, but if you want to tool it up a bit. Although, why would you tool it up?
Well, it comes with some basic stuff.
Yeah, the basic stuff is the Storm Bolter.
Well, hang on. You've probably read this entry then.
The initial entry, I think, just says a Storm Bolter.
Let me see if I can get back to it. Where are you? Speeder. Impulsor. Okay. War gear options. This.
Don't read the options. Read the initial.
An Impulsor is a single model equipped with 2 Storm Bolters. So that's the ones on the sides.
Yep, that's it.
Can get an Iron Heel Heavy Stubber, 2 frag grenade launchers. Can have this model can have a shield dome or an orbital comms relay.
Yep.
Or can be equipped with one of the following: the missile array or the Iron Heel Sky Talon.
Yep.
So yeah, I would. Ooh.
What's its transport capacity?
Where does it say that?
I don't know.
Transport capacity of 6 Primaris infantry models. It cannot transport jump pack or Mark X Grievous models.
Okay, so it can actually transport standard Marines as well, because it doesn't say.
Yes, it doesn't say it can't transport those, but the capacity is 6. That's a bit low for me. I would like to be transporting full units.
That's it. It's a Primaris Razorback, but it's not even as effective as a Razorback in my opinion.
Yeah, once you're buying stuff on top. I mean, like, I would probably grab this, leave it with the Stormbolters, give it that shield array, and use it to just bomb up a unit of 6 Hellblasters with the heavy ones.
Yeah. And play it as Ultramarines so that they can still move and shoot.
They bail out, they haven't moved, and hacha!
Yeah.
That, or, actually, there's something I want to have a look at.
Okay.
If I can quickly find it, I need to go past the entire armory, which is huge now.
So if you can understand my rant on this, because the repulsors are horrendously expensive.
Yeah.
But they have a transport capacity of 10.
Yeah.
Whereas this is 4 less models. Now, it's a lot cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
But what are you going to be taking in 6-man squads, apart from, if you really feel like it, the Hellblasters?
Yeah, that's the only thing I would run in it. And even then, it's weird for what you're buying box-wise.
I can kind of see where you'd want to, like with my Stone Templar, for example, like all my Stone Templar troop squads are 5.
Yeah.
I'll chuck them and a lieutenant into one.
That makes sense, yeah.
But beyond that, I don't see very much tactical reason to have this, especially when I have so much stuff I could just drop in behind you.
All right, here's one for you. So chapter tactics. I want to see if any of these have changed.
Okay.
So Ultramarines, add 1 to the leadership characteristic of models with this tactic. This is all the same. Yep, they can retreat from combat and still shoot.
Okay.
With that doctrine as well, they can retreat. No, I think it says if they didn't fall back.
All right, okay.
You run Black Templars.
I run Black Templars.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, so let's
I
see what
I run Black Templars and Imperial Fists because my Stone Templars run as Imperial Fists.
Okay. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by a model with this tactic, the target does not receive the benefit of cover to its saving throw, and if that attack was made with a bolt weapon, an unmodified roll of a 6 scores 1 additional hit.
Yeah. This is something they brought up on their Warhammer community page.
I like that.
They were showing examples of how some of these had changed. The Imperial Fist one is very interesting.
Well, I think that's all we can really look at without giving too much away for everybody. We've had a good chat about it.
Yeah.
Everybody, tell you what, if there's anything you think we've missed, get it down below. If there's anything we got wrong, also feel free to get it down below because, we like to play these games. We play with this army. If we're getting it wrong, we don't want to get it wrong. We want to have a good, fair game against our opponents.
Yeah. And if you feel like picking these up.
Yep. We do now have them in the OnTabletop store. So,
store.ontabletop.com, head on over.
Yep. Or if you're on the main website, it's just on the top bar there. All right.
Absolutely.
Let's get back to the main show and let Ben jump back in.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. See you in a bit. I instantly just have to buy both those books for the Ultramarines and for the main codex.
Oh, I thought you were going to go White Scars as well.
And repaint everything in white. Do I look insane?
That's 1 can of spray, dude.
Very true.
It's 1 can of spray and Justin, then all the apothecary white.
Yeah, Justin, that's it. You spray them white and apothecary white and you're done.
But you have to red everything. And then the gold. Fine. And then the flesh. And then the hair.
It's fine.
And then all of the other stuff that they have to put on to be white scars.
You have no idea how fine that is. You have no idea how easier that is than painting Ultramarines, man.
Honestly,
you're starting on a bright canvas and working your way down rather than starting on a dark canvas and working your way up.
See, I don't know. I'm quite content with how my Ultramarines turned out. I just need to finish them all.
Yeah, the only problem is if you go White Scars, then it's 90% bikes.
Yeah. And bikes are just whoop. Okay, so let's jump on to the next bit of news now that we're back. So Ben, what have you got for us?
So the next up is from stuff that came out of Gen Con, and we haven't had time to really talk about it on a weekender yet since everything else has been going on, but it was the announcement of Marvel Crisis Protocol by Atomic Mass Games. So this is going to be a new tabletop game by them, which is set in 40mm scale using hard plastic miniatures that come on sprue, which is kind of cool. The game will allow you to play as a mix of both heroes and villains, and then you build up a team and fight them against your friends. There's going to be sort of standard versus modes sort of included in the game, so you'll be fighting over scenario-based games. There's also going to be some stuff later on down the line that they announced during a sort of in-flight talk alongside Fantasy Flight Games, where they talked about like a raid version of the game where one person takes on the control of a larger, like a big boss effectively, and then two other players fight against them. And there's also going to be some campaign-based stuff in the future as well. As I was saying, this is going to be sort of multi-part plastic miniatures in the set, which is pretty cool. Everything is completely open in the Marvel Universe to them. So they'll be talking about it a little bit in groups and stuff over on Facebook and as part of the follow-up to Gen Con as well, and saying that basically the world is their oyster when it comes to this. So if you can think of a Marvel hero or villain, they're probably going to throw it into the mix, which would be pretty cool. I did actually put together like a little preview of this last week, so if you're interested in finding a little bit more about the game and the rules, because they've made the rules available to everybody, you can go and check that out and read through it. But one of the other things they did this week is they put together a big gallery showing off all the miniatures you're going to get in the core set as well, which is really cool. I'm really, as a massive Marvel fan, this sounds like a really cool idea to me. I can't wait to dive into this one and give it a go. Yeah.
See, instantly for me, I just want to remake each of the Marvel movies. I want to, if I'm picking up sets of this, I want to pick up the set to do Avengers 1. I want to pick up the set to do Captain America Winter Soldier.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
You know, and actually just play those movies out on the tabletop.
One of the cool things about this as well is that while I said that you can sort of mix and match heroes and villains, because obviously the Marvel Universe has had team-ups and all kinds of different things across the bar, but there are certain characters that work well with each other. So if your group meets a threshold for a certain set of characters, so for example, if you make the Avengers or you make the Guardians of the Galaxy, you get like special bonuses for playing like a themed force, which I thought was pretty awesome as well. But yeah, it looks really good. Personally, I was kind of hoping that we get kind of like a cooperative version of this kind of game on the tabletop, where it was a group of you taking on a game and a system, sort of like AI-based thing, a little bit like we got with Batman and Monolith, that kind of thing. But I'm open to seeing how this one plays out on the tabletop. The rules so far, as I say, look pretty good and pretty sound. So I'm interested to try it out and see how awesome all the characters feel. And Hulk is coming in the first expansion for the game.
I don't know. One thing that makes me happy, I'm seeing Modark. The proper Modark from the old 90s cartoon. So we're getting the proper Mandarin, hopefully, not the mandolin from Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's quite a lot of really awesome stuff in the mix for this. They actually showed off a whole bunch of things at Gen Con of some of the other models. So I believe the first wave comes with a whole bunch of stuff. So you got Claw and Black Panther, T'Challa. You've got Thor coming down the road as well. There's plenty of things to dive into. I'm really interested to see like Spider-Man and some of the alternate versions of Spider-Man, so like Miles Morales and stuff, and Spider-Gwen, go up against the Sinister Six, so have like Vulture and Doc Ock and all that kind of thing. That's pretty cool.
So you're going to try and do Into the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love to do that.
That would be a fun one. What do you think, John?
I'm going to just be content if I see a lot of Iron Man.
A lot of Iron Man. So you just want to do the Hall of Armor, that scene from Iron Man 3 where...
How good would that look? It would take way too long to paint, but it would be so worth it.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you were telling me while we were off camera there that Dallas Kemp is actually on board for this one.
Yeah, he's in Atomic Mass Games. I think, Ben, do you know if he's one of the sculptors, one of the designers, or...
So Dallas is now taking, I think he's like sculpt lead, so he's in charge of all the sculpts that you see for the game. Yeah. And then you've got William Schick as well, who was previously a Privateer Press. He's involved with this too. So you've got some guys that have got some pedigree in the industry.
Yeah, and have a lot of passion for the universes as well.
Oh yeah,
and Dallas is very much a very passionate guy when it comes to design and sculpting and stuff.
And if you ever see some of his painting work, it's just so good.
Yeah, I'd actually like to know how much of the image work we've been looking at is to do with Dallas as well.
Yeah, Dallas, reach out, buddy.
One of the interesting things that has come up with this game is obviously people have been talking about the slightly larger scale for it. So it's 40 mil, effectively 35 mil with a little bit of an extra heroic proportion on top of it. Yep. People are like, oh, we're going to have to build entire new boards and all that kind of thing. But and then my answer to that, as it commonly is it's a hobby where you build things. So have fun and go wild with it. And there are also, hobby kits out there if you want to buy some stuff already. So Knights and Dice do some pretty cool stuff and all that kind of thing. Because obviously the DC game that's out there from Night Models uses 35 mil models and terrain. So
in the world we live in now, 3D printing isn't as inaccessible as it was.
Yep.
Yeah,
You could rescale.
You could take a lot of stuff that's like modern city sort of stuff and just scale it up a little bit.
Yep, and it will take it because I mean, like I've been playing about with rescaling a lot recently on the 3D printers, and yeah, it's super easy.
You remember our Flames of War D-Day bootcamp? A lot of that.
Yeah, that was 28 mil.
Yeah, that was 28 mil. It was scaled down, so that works really well too.
Exactly. So I mean, like there is nothing to stop you making cool boards for this, and why wouldn't you want to actually do New York City with Avengers Tower?
Well, the interesting about like the terrain element of this is that terrain is actually destructible. So you're encouraged, like some characters can pick up cars and throw them, and they've even designed little things for elements of the terrain that actually breaks apart, so that you can like be like Hulk has now picked up a lamppost and hit Iron Man with it or something.
Actually, do you know, as we've been talking about that, and you asked me what I wanted to see, I want to see the fight from Iron Man 1 with Obadiah Stane in that big mech suit. Big suit against Tony Stark.
Yeah, the Warmonger fight. Yeah,
the Mark II or the Mark III or whatever.
He was in the Mark
III.
It
was the 3
versus the Warmonger suit, but he was using his Mark II core.
That's right.
I'm going to have to go back and rewatch that.
First movie was epic. Second movie was really good, and the third movie I enjoyed.
There were some beautiful parts to it, but for me, it was just like, it's not the Mandarin. I wanted the Mandarin.
No, do you know what really broke it for me? The Extremis.
Yeah.
The way it was portrayed and the way it was done, like, dude's now a fire-breathing dragon. And I'm like, nah.
Yeah, a little Pepper getting to be a badass.
Pepper, like, just with the arm from the Mark 47 or whatever it was. Freaking cool.
Yeah.
Well, to make you feel a little bit happier, because obviously the next sort of phase of Marvel films has been announced. In Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, I think the film's going to be called, they have teased the fact that the real Mandarin might come back, because they kind of said in Iron Man 3 that he was kind of based on myth and legend and that kind of thing. So maybe we'll see him come
that could be fun. So, that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So,
all right. And there's actually a second one here with close-ups of the miniature, John. Apologies.
So that's the gallery that was sort of showing off all the different plastic miniatures you're going to get in the core set, painted up as well by their studio painters and stuff, which is pretty awesome.
Captain America.
Captain America looks really good.
Yeah. Black Widow.
I'm okay with Black Widow.
Captain Marvel I'm not a huge fan of, but that's just the actual character I'm not a huge fan of.
That's a nice model.
It is a nice model. Iron Man, of course, looking great. Yes. Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. Nice pose on Spider-Man.
Yeah, that Spider-Man looks like the Spider-Man that I
grew up with.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
90s cartoon Spider-Man.
Yes.
Ultron
looks badass.
Yeah. Oh, Red Skull. Have to get Red Skull. he just looks so smug.
Yeah. That's one thing.
You are failing.
Doc Ock. Classic Doc Ock.
Yep.
Crossbones. That's one I really came across.
So Crossbones was represented in the MCU. You know, in I believe it's Winter Soldier, or maybe it's Ultron, where Scarlet Witch condenses the guy and throws him into the building.
Ah, yes.
That's Crossbones with like the things that he can bring out onto his fist so that he can beat up Captain America. Yeah, that's Crossbones.
Hulk is fabulous.
Hulk is really cool.
That's something I was wondering, was just how over ripped were they going to make him, because it has to be done for Hulk.
Yeah,
I can't wait to paint Hulk. Hulk's going to be awesome. Yeah.
Just MODOK. It is my childhood version of MODOK from that cartoon, and it's just like, I'm so happy.
Now, I was kind of surprised that they brought MODOK in as they did. I thought they were going to add, because obviously we've got Hulk there, which kind of pairs with the whole idea of the Avengers. Mm-hmm. I thought maybe they'd do like a villain that was of larger scale, so maybe something like Rhino to go alongside Doc Ock, so we've got that kind of six mix in. Yeah. But obviously that's something for down in the future, and showing off MODOK, as you say, is a nice sort of hint to the amount of stuff they can do from the comic books and stuff. So very cool.
All right, next bit of news.
So the next bit of news is also some more Marvel stuff that came out from Fantasy Flight Games, and that is that Fantasy Flight are working on a new living card game, which is pretty cool, called Marvel Champions. And so this game has you playing cooperatively with up to 4 players to fight against a villain and their schemes on the tabletop. So you can take on the role of, I think it's Iron Man, Spider-Man, She-Hulk, Captain Marvel, and Black Panther in the core set. Mm-hmm. And the core set as well, this is big news for everyone who has played any FFG LCGs in the past. The core set caters immediately for 4 players. You don't have to buy 3 core sets in order to, get everything you need. Everything you want, is in that box. The game plays out a little bit like a lot of stuff you've seen from Arkham and for Lord of the Rings. So you have your characters that you play down your cards to the tabletop, you build up actions, and you attack the enemies on the tabletop and that kind of thing, and you try and thwart their schemes rather than just fighting them as well, which I thought was really cool. There's also a nice mechanic in the mix where you get to play as either the superhero version of your character or the alter ego of them. So, for example, when you're playing Spider-Man, you can either take on your enemies as Spider-Man, web-slinging around, kicking them and all that kind of thing, or you can play as Peter Parker and try and thwart their schemes as a reporter and all that kind of thing, which I thought was really awesome. So there's some really nice twists in there too. The other addition to this as well, which we sort of shared in a different news story this week, is the introduction of the first scenario pack. So the first scenario pack is going to include Green Goblin, and that's going to be a whole set of stuff for you to play against Green Goblin. There's going to be, I think, 3 missions in there for you to get through, which is pretty awesome. And all of the expansions they're going to do for Marvel Champions are going to be done as effectively self-contained packs. So they're ready to play straight out of the gate. You don't have to do any deck building if you don't want to. So they said, for example, with Green Goblin here, you can set up the decks and immediately start playing against this villain. And when it comes to the heroes, when they bring out Captain America, who's going to be the first scenario pack for them on the hero side of things, which is pretty awesome. I don't know why I was in the core set. Man, I want Captain America. You're going to get basically him, his cards, and all the extra stuff that he needs, as well as a few other bits and pieces for doing some deck building later on down the line if you want to as well. But yeah, some awesome stuff coming out of FFG. I have already pre-ordered this from our friendly local gaming store because it looks absolutely awesome.
I just have to say it. These days, it's good to be a geek.
It really is.
All of the things that whenever we were kids were considered, oh no, that's not mainstream. That's geeky. You're in a wee cliquey your own.
You watch what? What age?
Yeah. Well, I still kind of get that with anime sometimes, but such is life.
Mm-hmm.
You're a lovable weeb, Justin. That's what it is.
No comment. All right, this sounds really cool. I love the fact that we're seeing more card games coming out because we had the Heroes one that came out, and now this looks like it's just another way to actually tell stories of superheroes on the tabletop.
Yeah.
Next up, Ben.
So next up, we got some news that came out of Mantic. They are working towards the 3rd edition of Kings of War, which will be out later this year. I believe it's in a couple of weeks. But pre-orders are now being taken for the new 2-player starter set, which gets you stuck into the game. So the 2-player starter set itself comes with 2 armies, 2 full armies. Mm-hmm. You've got the Northern Alliance, who are the sort of like barbarian hordes from the north, versus the Night Stalkers that a lot of people will know from the introduction of Kings of War Vanguard, which was their skirmish game that was on Kickstarter, I believe it was last year, which is pretty cool. Yeah. As well as the 2 armies that you see in there, the starter set also comes with a new rulebook. It's going to be softback in the set, but you'll also be able to get a hardback version separately, which comes with a whole bunch of extra background from that kind of thing as well. The hardback book itself, when I talk about background, is going to have like 200 extra pages of lore because they're really going to be building on everything for this. So the world as a whole, I've been corrected by Jerry, the world as a whole is called Mantica. But the realm itself that they're going to be exploring in more detail is called Panathor, and that's the kind of area that you fight all your battles out in Kings of War. So Mantica still exists, but Panathor is the real cool name of the area that you're going to be playing in, which is pretty awesome. And as well as that, we also got to see a little bit of a gallery as well, showing off more from the Northern Alliance, because one of the cool things about the Northern Alliance is they're not just a bunch of hairy barbarian men. There's also elves and strange ice creatures from naiads and stuff from beneath the frozen lakes and everything in there as well. They've got massive beasts and wolves and foxes and giants and trolls and all kinds of things like that too. So the world is your oyster when it comes to building up a Northern Alliance force for Kings of War, and it should be pretty awesome to see what Magic do with this one. So, yeah.
I am quite liking the design of these.
I remember you went pretty heavily into Kings of War for a while. Like
I did. It's one of the few fully painted forces I have is a Dwarven army for Kings of War.
Yeah,
very cool.
And it was something I had been looking at, but then you went Dwarves, and I was like, "There's nothing else that's appealing to me." So screw you, Justin.
Yeah. Is the Northern Alliance appealing to you?
I think it might. Because
I mean, like, look at the Warlord here.
The Warlord is really badass.
Pretty badass. And I mean, like, this is something, I mean, like, just looking at their line infantry, if you were looking for some, like, alternate models to actually throw into, like, a human force in a fantasy game,
yeah,
these would make some very cool wildling-like characters.
Yeah, they would. But I think on a whole, what it feels like is that Mantic has taken a bit of a step up in quality. Now that's just
they really have.
That's just looking at painted stuff. I'd like to get a look at the bare plastics to see what sort of changes have been happening.
Yeah.
Because that for me as a modeler was always something that was very it was very difficult for me to get my head around. I was like, I want the detail. I want to see the belt buckle. I want to be able to paint the belt buckle and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And I understood that Mantic wasn't all about that. Mantic was about the game. Get your miniatures and play our game and enjoy our game for it being a game, not just a collection of miniatures.
Well, I mean, like, you know the way whenever we talk about tanks, I have to mention tanks, John's here. You have the three different things that you can have on a tank that you can take two of, but not have all three of.
Yeah.
Is it perhaps something similar with some games company where you've got the gameplay, the miniatures, and the lore? You can have two of these, but not all three.
Very much so, I think. But I also think that Mantic initially was very much about the game.
Oh, yeah. They were about getting tons of plastic on the table.
Okay, so yeah, they technically did two of your things then. They went for miniatures and they went for game. But obviously, they wanted the miniatures pumped out as cheaply as possible because you want to build a big army. What was it? Build big armies for less sort of thing was their mantra for a long time.
Yeah, the real key whenever Mantic first kicked off was they wanted to be making miniatures armies that you could quite happily take into Warhammer Fantasy and just have a huge army for not having to remortgage your house at the time. Because let's be honest, that's what Workshop was like at the time. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, well, with mass battle games sort of, from my perspective, slimming down a lot. We're seeing a lot more skirmish stuff.
Yeah,
especially out of GW, you're seeing Warcry and all that sort of stuff floating around now.
We're seeing more self-contained stuff. But I mean, like, Kings of War on its own is now a really good rule system. Whenever second edition landed, I was blown away with how much fun it was.
And it's nice now that Mantic has a corner of the market it can almost call its own. It has that mass battle side to it now where it can go, this is the flagship mass battle game for fantasy players now.
Yes.
You know, and now all they need to work on is that increment of model quality increasing, but that comes over time. That's not
that's the learning curve. I mean, like, everything you do, any company you work with, any company that you would be in, as you spend more time doing it, you will get better. Look at us. Has anyone thought to go back and look at our old videos?
I have.
Like from the first studio.
Please don't do that.
My God,
don't do it.
The audio on some of those videos was dire.
We were using cameras that were the sizes of bazookas back then.
Yeah, we had shoulder mounted cameras.
Yeah, and they were your TV camera, the quarter-ton monster with a lens that was nearly a foot long.
They would still take VHS. They ran off FireWire. I blew one up.
I was just going to say on the point about rules and stuff, third edition, one of the things that Jerry has been talking about to me and stuff is that what it seems to be what they've been doing with this one going forward is that a lot of the core stuff that you enjoyed from second edition is basically still there. This is just like a refinement and a tweak of things. And it's almost not necessarily just a new edition for the sake of there being one for the rules kind of thing. It's to help build the lore and the background behind Kings of War, so you feel like you're not buying a game to play something else, you're buying a game to play within their world.
Yes.
Because one of the other big things about this is that obviously everything you buy for Kings of War can then be used in Vanguard, which is their skirmish game, can be used in Dungeon Saga, which is their dungeon crawler, and of course there's the new role-playing game coming out as well from Red Skull. So there's loads of breadth and depth into what you're doing when you get into Kings of War from Mantic, which is pretty awesome. Yep. And it's nice to have that kind of thing where, you know, if you like a particular company and you like that and you like what they do, you can have an entire hobby based around just what's included in their collection.
Yeah, so, that's what a lot of companies like to do, is create that fan base. Like you see it a lot on video games.
Yeah,
the video games companies want to build a community.
Yep.
Except for Bethesda.
Ooh, harsh. I don't know. They're trying to fix things. Trying. Trying.
I'm just going to cut to my face to give you the skepticism that I'm feeling.
I know. It's they screwed the pooch on 76.
But look at how a lot of the companies are working, like Warlord. Warlord really do have, you can stay within us and you can have a full gaming experience because they're doing fantasy through ancients, through the world wars, through into sci-fi.
Yep, and even different theater types. You can do aerial combat, you can do naval combat, you can do ground combat.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what every games company is starting to figure out. How many people can we keep in our community? How many people can we let live in our circle, basically? And I think Mantic is probably going to smash it out of the park with having everything from dungeon crawl to RPG to mass battle.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see how how it all grows now with 3rd edition coming.
I'm curious to see what refinements they do to the rule set, because that's what they did between Kings of War version 1, Kings of War version 2. It wasn't a complete rebuild, it was just a really nice refinement.
Yeah.
And it's something they were very good at the time, and I can only imagine with the games they've put out since, they'll only have got better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, next up, Ben.
So next up, we're going to a bevy of news from Fantasy Flight Games once again, but this is for those people that want to enjoy a little bit of sci-fi stuff in Star Wars Legion. Now, a lot of people will know that the Clone Wars set is coming out very, very, very soon. I think it's in the next couple of months or something like that. And to build onto that, they've also included a whole bunch of extra expansion stuff that is going to be coming shortly after the release of the core set. So, starting things off, we have some stuff for the evil guys. So we have Count Dooku stepping into the breach with his lightsaber at the ready. So I'm sure you'll find a way for him to come up against Yoda in a hangar somewhere. Cool.
The worst, arguably the worst of any lightsaber wielder in the movies.
Yeah.
Because he really doesn't hang around very long.
See, I don't know. If you look back to the original trilogy, seeing that initial lightsaber fight between Obi-Wan and Vader, that was a bit poo.
Yeah, no.
It was two old men waving their walking sticks at each other.
Not what I mean.
Okay.
Not what I mean. Count Dooku never came across in the movies as someone to be scared of.
This is a fair point.
Because he didn't have... He had the charisma.
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't have the impact. He didn't have that character impact of... You look at Count Dooku and go, oh my god, this guy's really evil. Actually, he just felt like a businessman with a lightsaber.
Yeah. I mean, like, look at Darth Maul. You knew Darth Maul was evil.
Well, of course he was. He had like red face paint and horns coming out of his head. Now, I know that's not necessarily a way to say that someone's certainly evil, but when you have a red lightsaber that's double-ended, friggin' stay away from that.
Yeah, but I mean, like seeing characters like Count Dooku come in, I like it because it's adding more to the tactical depth of this game. Whenever myself and Jerry were doing our initial stuff, I really did feel like we were just missing a little bit of flexibility to trade stuff out.
Yeah,
and seeing this come in makes me happy.
This leads into another releases, but this time for the good side. So if you like Obi-Wan Kenobi and you followed anything to do with the Clone Wars, or if you watched the third movie in the prequel series, you'll know Clone Captain Rex, who's included in a lot of those cartoon series and stuff. So you've got an option for him with his 2 blaster pistols leading the way for the clone troops. There's also going to be an option for him where he doesn't have to wear the helmet, so you get the unhelmeted version of Rex as well, which is pretty awesome. And this leads on to a whole bunch of additional core stuff. So for the infantry, we've got the Phase 2 clone troopers, which are slightly better than the Phase 1 ones, which we'll look at in a little bit. Yep. But you've got loads of options there with some big guns and all kinds of things like that. So you've got nice support with mortars and all that kind of thing there. And then you've got possibly, which is one of my favorite things from the prequels, the B2 Super Battle Droids. And the reason I love these guys is because not only did they look badass, but the moment in Clone Wars, I think it's in the Clone Wars, or the Clone, whatever it's called, the second movie, I can't remember. It's got a real name, but I keep calling it Clone Wars. But anyway, whatever that one. Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones. That's the name of the movie. In that bit where all the droids are standing in the arena, and then the Super Battle Droid walks up behind the other one, punches him out of the way and starts firing his wrist-mounted rocket launcher at a Jedi. It was just like, oh my god, this is so cool. Please kill more Jedi. Oh no, wait, don't kill the Jedi. I like it.
See, the only scene from that movie that really sticks with me is whenever C-3PO's head gets stuck onto a drone body.
See, to me,
oh my good heavens, what's going on? Why am I shooting people?
I as far as droids go, I love droids. I bought a 1/5 scale battle droid years ago. It was a model that was completely out of production. It was 13 inches tall. It took me a day to build and paint.
Yeah,
and I saw this. I friggin' loved it. I mounted it on a CD and everything.
Yeah.
Episode 1.
Yes.
I loved for 2 things.
Okay.
I loved because of the pod race, because the pod race
it was beautiful.
Technically, as a piece of film and as a piece of story, was beautiful. I loved how it was made. I loved how it was portrayed. All the noises, the crowd, everything. Brilliant. The other thing I liked about episode 1 was the battle droids. The first few times you see battle droids doing their thing in episode 1, and it's quite literally a battle droid turns to another one that has a different color on its head, and it goes, check it out, Corporal, we'll cover you. And the guy goes, Roger, Roger. And they walk forward and they go, uh-oh. And like that, that's cool. But then because of plot armor or something daft, the battle droids become dumb.
They become the stormtroopers.
In
of the
episode
episodes,
2 and 3, they become dumb as dishwater.
Yeah.
They're so boring.
No personality.
They squeal in all these stupid voices. They sound terrible. They look terrible. They act terrible. They have cowardly reactions to stuff.
I need to distract John from his rant, so here, have a grav tank.
Don't like it. It looks like a helmet that's floating.
Well, see, I didn't. Okay, I can't unsee that now. But actually, this is the thing I was going to say that suddenly I think is going to bring Clone Wars up to like a new level. Not necessarily, maybe not necessarily with helmet hover thing there,
helmet hover tank.
But with the addition of all this new armor and vehicles and all that kind of thing, the big tanks and stuff that we saw in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith and all that kind of thing, that I think is going to add a little bit more to that sort of like combined arms feel of Star Wars Legion. Because up until this point, there's been, quite a few different vehicles thrown into the mix and stuff like that, but there's very little to draw from for the original trilogy. And they had to start looking beyond that into some of the cartoons and things to find stuff. But here with Clone Wars, there's so much stuff to get stuck into. I mean, the big flyers that the clone troopers had with the big beam guns on the side, the massive walking tank with the massive gun on the back of it from Attack of the Clones as well. There's going to be some awesome stuff for these guys coming out.
The next miniature, I had one of these as a kid as a Rebel kit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The AAT.
Yes.
I had one of these, and it was such a pain to build.
I friggin' loved these.
No, they're great looking. It's just the Revel kit was...
Do you know what? Do you know what else I had? I had a Revel Nubian starfighter.
Nice.
With the chrome underneath and the yellow on top.
Yeah.
I fell in love with that model so much.
All right, so we've got some alien Rebel troopers.
Yeah, so there's two more links. Yeah, there's two more links to look through. The first of these is looking at some upgrade expansions for both the original trilogy and the prequels. So the first bunch of stuff we've seen there is some additional Rebel troopers. So the idea is that this set is going to allow you to diversify your squads a little bit more.
Yeah.
So they all dart basically just a group of humans with one blue-headed alien. There's actually going to be a whole bunch of extra aliens in the mix. So a lot of them are carrying either standard weapons or some of them have got special ones too.
Yeah.
The same goes for the stormtroopers, which is a little harder to do, but they've tried to give them a little bit more flair. And the ones that you see there is, in that Imperial Stormtrooper expansion pack are kind of more themed towards sort of Tatooine and, the ones that were sent looking for the droids. So you've got some really cool options there and so obviously some special weapons. This then carries on into the prequels and the Clone Wars. So you've got some more battle droids who are doing some battlefield commands and pointing out things and no doubt shouting, Roger, Roger. And also some new clone troopers too with rocket launchers and all kinds of things like that.
See, to me, the B1 battle droid is my favorite thing in Star Wars ever.
It's really cool.
It's a gorgeous design. It's the perfect cheap autonomous soldier.
Yep.
I've said as soon as Star Wars Legion came out, I was like, I'm waiting for the battle droids.
That's fair enough.
And I want an army of them. I don't want anything else in that army. I just want battle droids.
Well, you need one of the Trade Federation to lead them.
Yes. But he can stay off table.
With the horrible accents that they had.
He can stay off table, and my battle droids will do the job themselves.
One of the interesting things that came up about the battle droids, because I was talking about this with a couple of friends and saying how it's really interesting to see that they brought in a lot of this stuff from the Clone Wars and that kind of thing. And one of my friends turned around and said, well, you know why they made them droids, right? And not like, another human force. It's because the Jedi needed something to cut apart.
Yep.
And you can't hack apart bodies in a kid's movie, but you can slice apart robots to your heart's content. So.
Well, I did see a thing about this when I was younger was there was a show, it was like ultra violent, but how they got away from having like an 18 rating was they made the blood green.
Well, there you go. Exactly.
I see the point though, although they did probably push the boundaries a little with cutting Darth Maul in two.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Yeah, a little bit. But he was a bad guy. It's okay. Kids got to sit there and go, yay, bad guy's dead.
Yeah, that's what the line mild terror is. All
right, I'm seeing they've also done some terrain here, Ben.
Yeah, so you'll know that Fantasy Flight Games do a lot of little terrain boxes, so you can add stuff to your game. So they've done one like I think it was a downed AT-AT and stuff, which is pretty cool. One of the newest ones they've done is for this Imperial bunker, which can be used to recreate those iconic scenes from Return of the Jedi. When Han Solo and Leia Yeah, fighting outside the bunker and stuff. They have said that the door on the front doesn't have to be built into it. You can have it open, and you can have it sort of so that it leads into something. So if you wanted to build like an underground complex, you can sort of add that to the back of this and do a slightly more confined fight, which I thought was pretty awesome. You've also, of course, got all those command consoles in there too, so you can set those up as objectives. So my idea was that maybe you take something like this frontage here, and then you have that linked into a whole bunch of the battle system sci-fi terrain, and you have it as like a long sort of facility underground where your troopers have to burst in and try and get to all the consoles to turn them off and like bring down the shields, all that kind of thing.
That could be cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, as well as the actual terrain kit you see in there as well, you also get a bunch of cards that allow you to play very specific scenarios based around this too. So if you are interested and you haven't looked at other terrain makers out there, like I know Battle Key, we do a lot of really good stuff that can be used for Star Wars Legion. There's some awesome options there from Fantasy Flight Games as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You see, I always find components like this can become a real centerpiece for your table.
Yeah.
So if you build like a big hill in the middle and have this sticking out the side of it, there's your central objective. You're both moving in to try and take control of it. And you could recreate the scene of, we have to give Han more time. He'll get the shield generator down.
R2-D2 needs to stop wetting himself over in the corner and like hop open the door.
Fix the thing, yeah.
Or they bring a chicken walker in, an ATST, and they just blow the doors open. Because, I mean, that's what they do in Return of the Jedi.
I know. Well, it's very cool to see more coming for Star Wars Legion. It is a fabulous game. If you've not given it a go, definitely give it a go. And I think that's it for news. Yeah, Ben?
Yeah, that's it for the news. Yeah, there's quite a lot to catch up on from Gen Con and that kind of thing, but hopefully we managed to cover the bases, as it were. So, yeah.
All right, well, the next thing, I think we're going to take a very quick break here because Sam has sat down with Ethan for a Signum interview for their new Dragon Hunter game coming to Kickstarter, yeah?
Yep.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Sam from OnTableTop, and joining me this time is Ethan from Signum Games. How you doing, mate?
Yep, I'm doing excellent. Hello. Yeah, great to be here.
Thank you very much for coming on board. We've talked about the miniatures from Legends of Signum in the past, but before we dive into your latest outing, Dragon Hunters, can you tell us a bit about yourself? What is Legends of Signum? What kind of world is this?
Sure. Well, as for us, we are Signum Games Studios. We basically began with producing miniatures. So we produced resin miniatures and metal, and then eventually last summer we launched a Kickstarter campaign for Legends of Signum. This is basically our main universe, it's the one we're operating in, and it was released this summer. So basically, it's a fantasy world, and there's eons of history going behind it. Millennia ago, there was this enormous, large, dark dragon who ruled the world, the dragon of chaos. And the mages, the greatest mages of the land of Signum, they rose in rebellion against him, and there was a massive and epic battle. And eventually, they were partially victorious, I suppose you could say. They didn't manage to kill him, that was impossible. But they did manage to wound him and managed to seal him away. And they used the essence of the dragon, the leftover blood, as kind of an elixir. They drank it, and different things happened to them. For some of them, this was poison. Some of them became mad, insane, and some of them, different things happened. They gained different abilities. Some of them were mediocre, like opening locks, but others were spectacular and fantastical, like bringing up storms. And so these mages, they became kind of like gods in a sense. And this is basically the main idea, the main concept of the plot, I suppose you could say, of the world. So there's this large dragon, this dragon of chaos, he's sealed away, and there are these gods plotting and kind of scheming. The game itself, though, is set obviously a much longer time after that. It's focused on two factions, you could say. The City of Valor, which was built on the ruins of a now long dead civilization, and Grafarium Empire, which is basically an expanding empire of religious nature who seek to kind of basically expand and cleanse the world. And the city of Vala is the key point of their expansion, because it's one of the largest cities in the world, largely because of a cataclysm that happened around 15 years ago, where most of the world of Signum was devastated, again, largely due to the scheming of the gods. And but Signum itself, not Signum, Vala itself was left unharmed due to this cataclysm. And this also spurred a large number of immigrants into Vala itself, basically kind of a melting pot of races. It's a large trading hub. It's a very rich city. And so these two kind of giants, in a sense, they come into conflict. And that's what basically is happening in Legends of Signum. So,
excellent. I take it this big dragon who I've currently got sitting on the desk, he's not the dragon of chaos you're talking about there.
No. He's one of the most powerful dragons in the universe. The dragons, basically, in Legends of Signum, they are descendants of him, they're considered. And so he's an interest to many of the characters in the world, particularly like Balthazar, who's coming to hunt him. But no, he's not one of them, but he's one of the key figures, basically, in the universe, which is kind of why we decided to add him, of course, and do the expansion.
Well, if he's descended from this primordial dragon of chaos, he looks like he's going to do Daddy proud. Okay, so what have you guys worked upon in the past? What have your previous Kickstarters been?
Well, the main Kickstarter that we did was Legends of Signum. This was basically the very first game that we did. It was kind of like, the centerpiece. It was focused on the city of Vala and the Griffarium Empire and the conflict between them. And basically, the point is that you could win either by having your economy eclipse the opponent, or by destroying your opponent militarily. As for our other developments, we've been producing miniatures, as I said, both in metal and in resin. It's high quality resin and imported from the US. One interesting feature about what we do that's a bit different is that we make our miniatures in unusual postures, kind of, and in poses. If you look at the dragon, for example, it's not just standing, back like pause or whatever you call it. It's in flight, it's in mid-flight, and it's incinerating everything that comes in its way. That's kind of one interesting, unique kind of feature about us.
So I will say, when I was building this dragon, I saw the pictures. I was like, no way that's going to stay up, and actually it does pretty well. It's surprisingly sturdy.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of it. I mean, when it comes to sturdiness, our miniatures, they're no less sturdy than the Warhammer miniatures, possibly even more so. So they can last for a while, pretty much.
Yeah, it is a very interesting sculpt. It's going to do either one or two things. It's either going to soar majestically out of that cloud of flame, or it's going to belly flop fantastically.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we move on to the new game, Dragon Hunters, how does Dragon Hunters expand upon the world of Legends of Signum?
Well, there are two aspects of this. First of all, there's the technical aspect. We wanted to add new gameplay to it and add new mechanics. Dragon Hunters was kind of a testing field for us, in the sense that the Dragon Hunters itself is a simpler game than Legends of Signum. Legends of Signum is more complex. There are more mechanics. There's more to it. Dragon Hunters is meant for about an hour or so of play, and it's a great way for new players to get more familiarized with the greater universe, with the mechanics. And another thing is that we wanted to test different mechanics. We made 3 different game modes for it. There's single mode, where one player basically controls 3 of the heroes, and he faces the dragon alone. There's a dual mode, where it's a player versus player. One player controls, again, the 3 hunters, and the other player controls the dragon. And finally, there's a 4-player mode, where basically 3 different players each controls a hero, and they have to somehow cooperate with each other. They have to coordinate their action, and the opponent, the 4th player, he controls the dragon. So that's technical aspect. There's also the, I guess, creative aspect. We wanted to bring dragons into the game because dragons are a very important part in the Signum universe. They're kind of essential. They're a key point. So we wanted to kind of show that in a sense. Praxis himself has quite an interesting story. Their motives, they're not just beasts or, they have their own complex motives. They're not slaves either. And the other thing is that you'll be able to basically, it adds lore. It adds lore because each of the characters, they have a backstory, and that backstory expands on Legend of Signum universe. It kind of gives you a lot of interesting information, a lot of the backstory that wasn't revealed before about the world, and each of them has their own motives. And the most, I think, the coolest part is that you'll be able to actually use these miniatures. You'll be able to use these miniatures in the Legends of Signum if you get. So this is, on the one hand, this is a expansion because you'll be able to use the cards, you'll be able to use the miniatures, and on the other hand, it's completely standalone. You don't need Legends of Signum to play it, but it's an excellent tool to get familiarized with the world and the mechanics. So that's, yeah.
Excellent. We're going to be looking at more of the miniatures, of course, later on in this interview. I love some of these sculpts. One or two of them I really want to take home and paint for myself. How does the game itself play out? How many players are there?
Again, between 1 to 4 players. Depending on the mode you choose. So if you're kind of alone, or maybe you want to just test your own skills, then you can choose the solo mode. We've actually developed an Android app specifically for it, and it kind of dragon's actions. It tells the player what the dragon does and everything. That's really neat. And the other, as I said, there's a dual mode where it's a player versus player. The player controls hunters. The dragon is controlled by the opposing player. And finally, there's the kind of 3 versus 1, completely asymmetric, where each player controls a hero. And the 4th player, he controls the dragon. The point of the game is that the dragon has to kill the intruders. He has to burn them, incinerate them. And the hunters, they have 2 options. They can either steal the dragon's gold, that's one of the mission objectives, or they can kill the dragon. Both are fine. The game itself basically is turn-based. So one player moves his characters, his hero, his dragon, and decides what to do. He can play cards. He can cast spells. He can search caves, and it's similar to the dragon. The dragon basically, he has also his tactics, his secret cards, his spells. He can also use them. He can also actually make little dragon whelps to terrorize the opponent as well. Those are really cool. So you have to really choose. You have to think out your actions every single turn. It's not as trivial as it may seem. There are a ton of ways to go about it. And one of the things is that you get to choose which cards are in your deck, which spells you're going to play, and all that beforehand. So this allows for a myriad of different tactics.
Now, you mentioned there the development of a mobile app to go with the game. That's something we're starting to see a lot more in board games. I was wondering, what were some of the challenges you faced in making that? How did you make sure that it integrated well with the board game element?
Well, we tested it, basically. Lots and lots of testing and lots of hard work. Basically, the app, it generally just helps you. It tells you how much how much HP everyone has, how much health, how much strength. So it really kind of automates a lot of the processes that we have in the game. And basically kind of draws the cards of the dragon for you, and it tells you the action. In solo mode, the dragon's actions are scripted in a sense. So what the dragon does is he heads to the player with the highest health, and he tries to attack them. And otherwise, so and the app basically helps you with that. It tells you how much health you have, how much hit points are lost, attacks, and how much you defend, and all that sort of stuff.
So why did you guys choose to go in this direction for your latest project in Legends of Signum? Why this Dragon Hunters game? Was it just you really wanted to integrate the dragons, or is this just a style of game you really wanted to see made?
It's not just about the style. Well, partially it's the style. Again, one of the important parts that we wanted to test certain kind of gameplay mechanics that we haven't implemented in Legends of Signum, like the modes, for example. And if people like it, basically, we're going to use that as a template maybe for future expansions as well. So it's a mixture of kind of the creative part and the technical part. But there's also another reason. We wanted people to be able to play as the dragon, because you always see these adventures where there's these dragon hunters, they kill a dragon, always the dragon's the villain. That's annoying. I mean, the awesome part in this game is that you can actually play for him. You can incinerate those annoying adventurers. And we think that's really, really cool. That's a really cool opportunity.
Yeah. I think myself and Ryan are probably planning on having a game of this at some point. And may I just say, Ryan, dibs on the dragon, mate. Okay, let's take a better look at the miniatures themselves. So I just wanted to show off the dragon one more time because I do love how creative you got with the pose. Again, as I said when I first saw it, I was a little worried that it wouldn't be that steady, it would overbalance, but it actually stayed together very, very well. Yeah. And it is a far more interesting stance than many I've seen before.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, how did you go about designing all these miniatures?
Well, it all begins with the artists, basically. The artists draw the sketch. And, we have a look at it. If we like it, we basically make a 3D model of it. And then we pretty much print it out. That's how the process goes. It's, again, one of the really cool things that we wanted to do was to make it was the different poses. You often see the miniatures in kind of static poses, they're just standing or whatever. We wanted to add a lot of variety to that. And another thing is that we wanted to add, we had a lot of, I guess the artists, they really have a lot of imagination and creativity. And a lot of creatures, like from the Griffarium Empire, they're a mixture of kind of people mixed with kind of people and animals, and they have wings. And we wanted to that out. And so we did it. We're kind of really proud of our work in this sense.
Well, I was showing off some of the smaller models as well there, some of the adventurers. Well, right there I was showing off one of the dragonlets, I think they're called.
Yeah, the dragon whelps.
Yeah, the dragon whelps. Is it possible for a monster to both be very cute and slightly terrifying?
Yeah, sure.
I think I need that on my business card.
It's kind of the thing, again, even with our dragons, it's kind of, is it a protagonist or is it an antagonist? Who knows? That's your choice. That's what we wanted to bring, basically.
Okay, can you tell me about some of the different characters you can play as?
Yeah, sure. Well,
yeah, I'm showing
dragon
off...
is...
Sorry,
yeah. The dragon is the obvious one.
Yeah.
He has actually somewhat complex motives. He's not just a mindless beast burning everything around, although he certainly does a fair share of that. But he has a story with Elia. They all have actually kind of tailored background stories. And Paraxis, he's known as the Ruthless or Scarlet Death by the orcs who live in the steppes. He's a very, very old dragon, probably millennia old. And he saw something special in Elia. To him, I guess she was something like a very bright star. And those kinds of stars, they burn away quickly. And he saw something special in her, and he actually wanted her to be her rider. But of course, in this process, he burnt her former lover, and she wasn't very happy with that. So Elia, going back to her, she's out for revenge. She wants to kill this dragon. She wants his blood. She's purely driven by that. Although again, they have very complex stories, and there's an intricate backstory behind them. As for Tullum, he's probably the kind of more simpler motivated character. He is from the steppes. He's a half orc, and his mother was an orc. His father was a human, and for some reason, his mother decided to keep him. This was very strange when it comes to the orc tribes. They don't look well upon these things, but his mother raised him anyway. And all his life, he wanted recognition from his tribe, and he sought ways to do this. And of course, one day, Paraxis decided to burn something, and the tribe was in the way. And and this was basically when he met Elia. So the Tullum's tribe basically was burned, but Elia was at this point hunting for the dragon herself, and she actually managed to wound him a little bit. And Tullum saved her, nursed her back to health, and so they began hunting together. And finally, Balthazar.
I'm just showing off Elia here quickly with the awesome. Is it a crossbow she's wielding?
Yeah, it's a huge crossbow, and it's basically it's the skulls of various beasts and smaller dragons that she's collected over the years. She's been doing a lot of hunting, kind of preparing, searching for Paraxis, because he's elusive and he flies. He could be anywhere on the continent, so it was a very difficult job. The journey took years and years and years until they finally reached this point, reach his lair, and the culmination of the battle is going to happen. And finally, there's Balthazar. Balthazar is he's a mage working for this secret organization whose goal is to basically somehow strip away the powers of the gods. As I mentioned before, the new gods, they got their powers by drinking from the blood of the god of chaos, well, the dragon of chaos. And Balthazar thinks that dragons are the key to this, that perhaps by researching and experimenting with the dragons, he can find a way to strip away their power to kill them. This order that Balthazar is in, it's rather complex. There are different people in it. Some of them are looking purely for power. Others have different goals. Some want to kill the gods because they believe that they are meddling too much in the affairs of mortals, and that humanity should have its own say on what to do. But anyway, Balthazar, he's there for the dragon himself, for his blood, his flesh, and partially for the artifacts that he may, the dragon may hold. But first of all, he wants the blood. So he's kind of a scientist, experimenter, and he found Elia and Tullum while during their hunt, and they were without money, and he agreed to finance them in return for giving the dragon's body to him. So yeah, that's the rough background of the characters.
I've got to say, Balthazar is probably my favorite sculpt of the whole lot. This is just like the best take on the classic fantasy wizards I have ever seen on the tabletop. I love it so much.
Yeah, he has a little pet dragon, as you can see. Well, he's not exactly tamed since he's in chains, but this is part of basically Balthazar's goals. He's collecting dragons, he's looking for them, he's experimenting on them, and so he has this. If you look up closer at him, he has this little dragon orb. It's a bit different than the whelps that Paraxis kind of creates or gives birth to, whatever you like it. But yeah.
I think I'm going to have to call that little pet dragon Norbert. That's the only thing I can call it. That's Norbert right there. Okay. So when does the Kickstarter itself launch? What plans do you have for stretch goals?
Well, it launches on August the 20th. As for stretch goals, we're thinking of adding. I think that's pretty much a certainty. We're going to add new characters. So you'll be able to play the game with 3 characters, but there'll be more in the set. We already have a few of them in mind, and we're looking forward to it. We're also thinking of adding another game mode, possibly with. Well, we'll see. I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, there may be another game mode coming up as well.
Excellent. What plans do you have beyond this Kickstarter? Do you have anything in mind for the wider game of Legends of Signum as well after this?
Yeah, definitely. If people like this, if fans like this game, if it goes well, this will be a sign that we should continue expanding the universe. And there'll be more expansions to launch, definitely. I will be adding more lore, more information, more miniatures. And as I said, the mechanics for Dragon Hunters will serve kind of as a template for possible future expansions if it goes well. Also, we're also currently in developing another war game, completely different. It'll be, I believe, 15mm scale miniatures. So we have that to look forward as well.
Excellent. That sounds fantastic. Okay, well, Ethan, thank you very much for coming on board and telling us all about Dragon Hunters and what to expect from the Kickstarter.
Yeah, thank you, guys. It was a pleasure.
If you guys want to find out more, be sure to keep an eye out for when the Kickstarter launches, and let us know your thoughts about these models and this game in the comments below.
I know the guys at Signum have done some fantastic stuff when it comes to this. I've really enjoyed seeing some of the renders and things they've done for each of the different heroes you're going to be playing as, and the dragon itself looks absolutely fantastic. It's almost done as if it's like a diving pose, as if it's swooping down towards the enemy, which I thought was really awesome. So it'll be really cool to see how this takes off, and we're going to be looking at it in a little bit more detail in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be putting together a little bit of a showcase and sort of like a run through the rules and that kind of thing in an article, which would be pretty cool. So look out for that as well.
Cool beans. Mm-hmm. Right. Speaking of Kickstarters, then, you've picked out 3 for us to look at this week.
Yeah, so we've got 3 very awesome wargaming Kickstarters for us to look at. And the first of these is one that only has just a couple of days left on its campaign at the time that you're seeing this on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And that is for Colony 87, the third wave. So Crooked Dice, as many people will know, do a game called 7TV, which is a really awesome, pulpy sci-fi style game where you can play as secret agents and all kinds of things. And you build up effectively shows that you would have known from the 70s or the 60s and 70s and bring them to the tabletop. They also do some awesome stuff that can be used basically across the board in any other kind of sci-fi game you want to get stuck into. And that's where these come in. And so these are a set of new 28mm sci-fi civilians for you to use in your games. So if you're playing something like Core Space, or you're playing any of the other bajillion sci-fi skirmish games out there, you can drop these guys into your world to use as NPCs and all kinds of different characters, villains perhaps as well, people just getting in the way, civilians that you need to try and save, and all that kind of thing too. Mm-hmm. They've done 2 waves of these in the past, and this Kickstarter also allows you to dive back in and pick up those as well. But the third wave really dives into the mix of it and starts adding in a few more quirky new characters. They've also done this massive range of new space pets. So if you ever wanted to know what people in space have as pets, I'm fairly sure Crooked Dice are put together here in this campaign, as you can see. Really, really awesome. And for anyone who particularly likes, there's a game called Rogue Stars that came out from Osprey a couple of years ago now. But that game has sort of like got a little bit of a Guardians of the Galaxy style feel to it, almost mixed in with a little bit of sort of like Del Toro style stuff as well. And so I think these would be an amazing fit for that game if you're going to be doing some skirmishing off on a far-flung space station in the middle of nowhere in the deep space. So yeah. Very cool.
I love the kid with the alien pet.
Yes.
The alien, not rabbit, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's more deadly than a normal rabbit, definitely.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Very,
some really,
cool
really
stuff.
The thing I really liked about this is just how characterful they've made all the different figures for this. They all look really fantastic, and they've got lots of sort of depth to them as well. So you can almost come up with a whole bunch of sort of backstories for all of these if you really wanted to, and sort of build them into your game, which I thought was really awesome. So yeah, really nice prompts for anyone who's doing anything narrative on the tabletop, and of course 7TV definitely caters to that.
Yeah, so. The alien pet merchant, very cool.
Yeah. I don't think he could be accepted into something like 40k because they just look at all of that and go, Xeno.
Why are you selling Xenos?
Why are you selling tiny Xenos?
Yeah, the hover cars, quite cool.
Yeah.
So as well as the different NPCs, they've done a bunch of extra stuff, as you can see there, flying cars and extra bits and pieces for the Kickstarter too, which is awesome. The thing I was going to say about the alien pet merchant, he's definitely the person that you put just randomly into like a sci-fi bar for your heroes to come and talk to, and they spend like the entire session talking to him and buying pets off him, and they spend all of their hard-earned credits on pets, which they then lose in the next encounter or something. But yeah,
I want some form of tribble. Just because if I lose one, it's okay. It's already had babies.
Do you know, we weren't talking about Legion so long ago. I mean, you could set up a marketplace.
Oh, yeah, that would be cool.
You could, yeah. Yeah, that would be really good.
You could do the bar scene from, was it the first of the new trilogy?
A New Hope.
Yes.
You could actually do A New Hope. You could do episode 4 A New Hope.
Yeah.
Going to Mos Eisley and being in that pit of scum and whatever.
Yeah. All right. Very cool Kickstarter. 7TV, always a great fun game. I've seen the guys play it down here a few times where they break it out and they do these weird things where it's just like, the mad scientist has a nuclear weapon, you must stop him. Go to commercial. All right, next up we have one that we looked at on the last weekend, or Dungeons and Lasers, which is currently running.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a very, very cool one because you're getting a set here, if my mouse wants to work, where you can do fantasy and sci-fi mixed. So you can do the nice, really classic fantasy dungeon stuff, and then you've also got things to do more of a clean sort of sci-fi mix, and then you can do the H.R. Geiger style stuff, I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've kind of thrown a lot of interesting sort of ideas into the mix here, as you say. They've kind of crossed that kind of core fantasy sci-fi element in with some other sort of slightly stranger stuff as well. The really cool thing about it, and I think that Warren talked about it a lot last week on the weekend too when he was doing this little showcase for it, is that it's got a really nice modular nature to it. So if you are doing a lot of role playing, this is the kind of terrain that you could use for building up large dungeon scapes for you to go delving into, in sci-fi or in fantasy. But because of the way that it goes together, you could also build it up into slightly larger buildings if you want to try and use it in like a wargaming context as well. So probably pretty good, like per box on like a skirmishing level feel. So if you're going to be playing games on around like 3x3 size or something like that, you've probably got a good amount of stuff in it to kind of build like either one building or a bunch of little buildings and stuff like that too. So yeah, a really interesting looking Kickstarter that we obviously talked about, and we'll have a link down below for that little showcase to it as well. But they've got loads of awesome stuff in the stretch goals and everything too. So they've got monsters and additional characters. They've also done like these fantasy pet companions. So like fantasy heroes in pet form that have got weapons and stuff for you to run around with, which is pretty cool. So yeah, some interesting stuff there from Archon when it comes to this one.
Yeah, you see, for this particular one, what I would be doing is I would look at getting this and using it as an upgrade for like Dungeon Saga or Star Saga, to take it to the next sort of level of gameplay. Yeah, and then with it being modular, you can just do whatever you want to make the maps.
I mean, I haven't been involved in much of Warren's conversation on the stuff, but I know how much he enjoyed painting the little example pieces that he's done.
Yeah, and they went together really quickly for him.
They did. Very good.
I like. Next up, Ben, last one. What do you got?
Yeah, sure. So the final one is from the guys at TT Combat, and this is for their Desert of the Dead Kickstarter. Now, a lot of people remember, I think it was a year ago now, maybe a little bit further than that, they did a Kickstarter for a big halfling army. Now that has eventually come to the tabletop, and you can buy it to sort of go into your games of Warlords of Erewhon and that kind of thing as well. But their new focus is on an entirely new army, and it's not just one, it's like 3 different armies, right? So the first of these is the standard one that you would most likely see on the tabletop, and it's kind of like your undead Egyptian-style army, a little bit like the Tomb Kings of Khemri from back in the Warhammer Fantasy days. So you've got your shambling mummies, you've got your screaming catapults and all that kind of thing. You've got your big monstrous giants and snake beasts and all that kind of thing as well. But in addition to that, they've also got some elements that can be used to create different armies that all exist within the same sort of fantasy realm. So they've got a set of Egyptian sort of Arabic-themed halflings in the mix, which I think is pretty awesome. So if you want to build up a little bit of a halfling force, you've got that option there too. A lot of people really liking halflings right now. Wargames Atlantic are doing their plastics stuff and everything like that. TT Combat obviously released their stuff as well. Warlords of Erewhon has rules for halflings in the core book and all that kind of thing. What kind of madness is this? But as well as that, beyond halflings, they've got people on the other end of the scale, on the tall scale. We've got an entire army of Egyptian-themed elves too. So if you want to try and make yourself an Egyptian-themed elf army for use in any of your fantasy games, you've got that option as well. And so I really like the idea that with this one, they've gone basically, the Desert of the Dead isn't just focused on one army. It's the area where all of these different sort of factions play out their existence and stuff. Yeah. And the thing that I think is really cool about this, and hopefully we see it in a lot more Kickstarters going forward, is there's a lot of people taking traditionally sort of European style fantasy archetypes, so elves and dwarves and things, and mixing them in with the different cultures and mythology. And I think it's a really, really cool thing to see. So hopefully we get to see a little bit more of that from companies down the line. I know that there's a couple out there. I think it's Titan Forge are doing some stuff with like Japanese and Chinese forces and things like that too. So yeah, a really awesome Kickstarter that's full of different options.
Why are there cactus men?
There are cactus men because
why are there cactus men though?
Halfling need tree men. So clearly the next best thing is a cactus man. So.
Oh, the halfling sorcerer looks great.
It really does. Yeah.
He looks like he should just be doing a Vegas show.
The Slayer elves or whatever they were further up.
I'll scroll up to them.
Was very cool looking.
These.
Yeah, them. They're badass looking.
Yeah, they're very cool.
And the Anubti, they didn't call them Anubis, they called them Anubti.
Yeah,
they're just up a little bit more, I think.
Up. There you go.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, although I love the catapult as well.
Yeah,
because look at this thing. That is just kick ass. I love it.
What happens when you get bored with your Sphinx and you want to put it on some wheels?
Well, you see, it's kind of the American frat boys have came to visit and just went, we can make a slingshot on that.
Pimp my Sphinx.
Pimp my Sphinx. Nice. I see they're doing some terrain for this as well, which is quite nice.
Yes, obviously a lot of people that follow TT Combat will know they do a really nice range of MDF/HDF style terrain for using the tabletop. So they've done some terrain that fits the army. Mm-hmm. They've also done some stuff to support their other game ranges as well. So a lot of people know that TT Combat also bring us Rumble Slam. So they've done an entire Rumble Slam team. So if you like the wrestling aspect of things, you've got those guys there. They're also doing a special miniature for Carnivale too. So you've got a really nice miniature that mixes in on that front as well, which I thought was really good. So yeah, a huge amount of stuff for anybody who wants to dive into like this kind of genre of fantasy. So yeah.
I am absolutely digging this one. Absolutely digging this one. In fact, John, Elven Bolt Thrower for you.
Go. I'm not as sold on it.
Okay.
Because when I think of like desert and Egyptian and stuff, it's Anubis stuff that really gets me, and
I see
the Elven, because they were wearing like Anubis sort of style face masks and stuff. That's completely in my boat.
We have some mummy centaurs.
Mummy centaurs are good.
Mummy centaurs.
they look pretty good. I like that.
We then got Sphinx hounds.
Bright Riders. It's kind of a feathery raptor.
It's kind of like that half evolutionary step. Oh, there's something for you. Jackal horrors.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think you're sold there.
That works for me. Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing I would say for this is that obviously a lot of people come to this and think that's an extortionate amount of different things that you're trying to make all at one time. Mm-hmm. But they did practically exactly the same thing for their Halfling Kickstarter, and they did manage to deliver on that. So, obviously, as always with Kickstarter and all of the different projects we've talked about, do your research. But from our point of view, this looks pretty good.
Yeah. So. Genies, I like.
I thought the Gorgon Archers were very cool looking there.
Gorgon Archers, where was that?
You just went past them again. Down.
Say when?
It's the Snake Lady.
Oh, the Snake Lady. Okay. Yeah, those are quite cool.
Yeah, they are.
I'm really digging what they're doing here, and there is ridiculous amounts of stuff, and they're still breaking stretch goals.
Yeah.
The thing I was going to say, actually, for the that kind of snake element of things, one of the armies that came out for Age of Sigmar was the Daughters of Cain, and that's kind of got a little bit more of a snake motif to everything. So I think it'd be really interesting to have like a little bit of a twist to that. And so you build some of these Egyptian sort of creatures into the mix and have it as like almost like a Count Saz Daughters of Cain army. That could be kind of awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, there's one thing they do here for their lower end pledges, which I quite like, which is if you look here, you can just drop £5, grab the exclusive Mummified Lord.
Yeah.
So instead of just going, I'll throw $1 in on that or £1 in on that and see if I want to jump in on the pledge manager later.
You have an incentive.
You have something that will actually say, I want to jump in on it at the low end and be a part of it.
And still get something.
Yeah. I like that idea.
Yeah, rather than just a thank you.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, I think that's us for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, make sure and come across and join us tomorrow over on the main website, OnTableTop.com, where myself, Warren, and Lloyd will be sitting down to have a bit of a chat and a bit of a chinwag about what we've been getting up to hobby-wise. And Warren has a bit of a rant to go off on, so tune in for that. We'll move on here. We will see you again next week. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.